Tonight we stand beneath a sky so clear that every star seems close enough to touch. The air is cool. A gentle wind moves through dark cypress trees. Far below, waves roll against rocky shores, their steady rhythm echoing through the night. Somewhere beyond the horizon, a storm flickers. Not a violent storm, not yet. Only distant flashes of silver light appearing among clouds far out at sea. And as you watch those brief illuminations appear and vanish, an ancient question begins to emerge from the darkness. How could a child overthrow the ruler of the universe? For countless generations, people asked that question. Poets whispered it beside sacred fires. Priests reflected upon it within marble temples. Travelers carried the story across mountains and islands. The answer always began in the same place. Not on a battlefield, not on a throne, but in hiding. So, before we continue tonight's journey, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy exploring these ancient stories together. Now settle comfortably. Allow the sounds of the ancient world to surround you. Feel the cool night air. Listen to the distant sea. And imagine yourself standing at the edge of a world that has not yet become familiar. A world before Olympus. A world before heroes. A world ruled by fear. Above you stretch endless stars. Below lies the sleeping earth. And somewhere in the vast darkness, destiny is quietly preparing to awaken. The ruler of existence is a titan named Cronus. His power seems absolute. Mountains rise beneath his authority. Rivers follow ancient paths established during his reign. The heavens themselves appear stable under his command. Yet despite possessing everything a ruler could desire, Cronus cannot find peace. Fear follows him everywhere. It sits beside him during feasts. It waits beside his throne. It accompanies him into every dream. Because long ago a prophecy reached his ears. Prophecies held enormous significance in Greek mythology. They were not simple predictions. They were glimpses of possibilities woven into fate itself. And the prophecies spoken to Cronus carried a terrible warning. One day, one of his own children would overthrow him. The words haunted him. After all, Cronus himself had once overthrown his father. Perhaps destiny was preparing to repeat the pattern. Perhaps power was never meant to remain in one pair of hands forever. No one could know for certain. Ancient traditions preserve several versions of the story. Some emphasize fate, others emphasize choice. But all agree on one thing: Cronus became terrified. And fear often drives rulers toward desperate actions. Each time a child was born to his queen Rhea, Cronus made a terrible decision. Instead of celebrating new life, he swallowed the child, one after another. First came Hestia, then Demeter, then Hera, then Hades, then Poseidon. Each disappeared into darkness. Each vanished before experiencing sunlight. Each represented another attempt to escape prophecy. You can almost imagine the sorrow that filled Rhea's heart. The ancient stories rarely linger on her grief, yet it remains present beneath every version. A mother watches her children disappear, again and again and again. The scent of incense drifts through temple memories. The glow of sacred fires flickers against stone walls. And somewhere behind those images stands a grieving mother who can no longer bear her loss. As time passes, another child begins to grow within her. This child will become Zeus. But no one knows that yet. Not even Rhea. She only knows she cannot endure another tragedy. Night after night she walks beneath starlight. Night after night she searches for hope. The sea wind brushes against her face. The moon reflects across quiet waters. And perhaps she wonders whether destiny can ever be changed, or whether every life is already written. Ancient storytellers preserved a fascinating mystery here. Some believed fate was fixed. Others believed courage could reshape destiny. The birth of Zeus would become one of mythology's greatest tests of that question. As the time approaches, strange signs begin appearing. An eagle circles high above remote cliffs. Sacred birds gather where none usually gather. The winds behave unexpectedly. Dreams arrive carrying symbols difficult to understand. Were these true omens, or later interpretations added by generations of storytellers? Historians continue to debate, yet the symbolism remains powerful. Nature itself seems aware that something important is approaching. At last the child is born. Not within a grand palace, not before crowds, not surrounded by celebration. Instead, the birth takes place far from the eyes of Cronus. The night feels unusually still. Stars shimmer above dark mountains. The scent of wild herbs drifts through the cool air. And somewhere nearby, water flows softly over stone. You kneel beside the scene. You hear the first cry of the newborn, a small sound, fragile, ordinary, and yet this tiny child carries the future within him. The baby opens his eyes. Nothing about him appears extraordinary. He looks vulnerable, dependent, completely helpless, which makes the prophecy seem almost impossible. How could this infant challenge the ruler of the cosmos? How could such a small life survive against such overwhelming power? Those questions linger in the darkness. Rhea knows she must act quickly. If Cronus discovers the child, the cycle will repeat. So she devises a plan. A daring plan. One that depends upon secrecy, courage, and perhaps a little help from fate. Different versions survive. Some place the journey on the island of Crete. Others preserve alternative traditions, but Crete became the most famous setting, and it is easy to understand why. Even today, the island possesses an ancient atmosphere. Mountains rise dramatically above the sea. Hidden caves wait among rocky slopes. Olive trees twist beneath endless skies. It feels like a place where myths might still be sleeping. Rhea carries the child there. The journey unfolds beneath moonlight. Waves sparkle softly against the shore. The air smells of salt and distant pine forests. Above, constellations watch silently. Every step matters. Every moment risks discovery. Meanwhile, Cronus remains unaware. He believes events are proceeding as usual. He believes fear has once again secured his future. And that belief creates the opening destiny requires. Upon reaching safety, Rhea prepares her deception. She wraps a stone in cloth. The bundle resembles a newborn child. Then she presents it to Cronus. The Titan swallows it immediately. No celebration, no hesitation, only fear disguised as certainty. The deception succeeds, for now. And somewhere far away, hidden among mountains and caves, the true child survives. The future king of Olympus breathes peacefully. Protected, unseen, waiting. The symbolism is remarkable. A ruler consumed by fear swallows a stone. A helpless infant escapes. Power appears victorious. Yet destiny quietly changes direction. Many scholars believe this moment explains one of mythology's central themes. Strength alone cannot control the future. Attempts to dominate fate often create the very outcome one fears. But those lessons belong to later years. For now, Zeus remains only a child, a sleeping infant beneath ancient stars. The world does not yet know his name. The Titans continue ruling. The heavens remain unchanged. The prophecy appears defeated, or perhaps merely delayed. Far above the sleeping child, clouds gather around distant mountain peaks. A faint rumble echoes across the night. Not a storm. Not yet, only the first whisper of thunder, and somewhere beyond sight, destiny takes another quiet step forward. The night deepens around you. Moonlight spills across the slopes of Crete, turning pale stone silver beneath the stars. The sea lies far below now. Its distant rhythm reaches the mountains only as a soft whisper. Cool air drifts through pine forests. Wild thyme grows between rocks. Somewhere in the darkness, an owl calls once and falls silent again. Hidden among these mountains is a cave. To an ordinary traveller, it might appear unremarkable. A shadow in stone, a crack in the earth, a place easily overlooked. Yet according to ancient tradition, this cave shelters the most important child in existence. Here, far from the eyes of Cronus, the infant Zeus survives. And with each passing night, destiny grows a little stronger. You approach the entrance carefully. The stone beneath your feet feels cold. A faint scent of earth rises from the darkness within. Water drips slowly from unseen ceilings. The cave seems ancient, even by mythological standards. A place older than kingdoms, older than temples, perhaps older than memory itself. The Greeks often imagined caves as sacred places. They existed between worlds, neither fully above ground nor entirely beneath it. Places where mysteries gathered, places where gods, spirits, and fate sometimes revealed themselves. And now this hidden sanctuary becomes the first home of Zeus. Inside, warm torchlight flickers against rough stone walls. Gentle shadows move across the cavern. The atmosphere feels peaceful, protected. For the first time since his birth, the child rests beyond the reach of danger. Yet safety requires constant vigilance. Ancient storytellers describe a remarkable group of guardians surrounding the infant. Most famous among them are the Nymphs. These divine caretakers appear throughout Greek mythology. They belong to rivers, forests, mountains, and springs. They are not rulers. They are not warriors. Instead, they embody the living spirit of nature itself. According to one tradition, a nymph named Amalthea becomes especially important. Some stories describe her as a nurturing goddess. Others describe her as a miraculous goat. Another interpretation survives that blends both images together. As with many ancient myths, certainty remains elusive. The mystery itself became part of the story's power. Whatever form Amalthea takes, her role remains clear. She nourishes the hidden child. You can almost picture the scene. Soft firelight, cool cave air, the scent of fresh milk, the gentle sounds of sleeping attendants, and at the center, the infant who one day will command thunder. Outside, another group of protectors keeps watch. These are the Curetes, warrior guardians whose task is unlike any other. Each time Zeus cries, they clash their weapons together. Bronze strikes bronze. Spears strike shields. The sharp sounds echo across the mountains. Their purpose is simple. They must conceal the infant's voice. If Cronus hears the child, everything is lost. The image stayed alive in Greek imagination for centuries. Warriors dancing beneath moonlight. Weapons ringing through mountain air. Protecting not a king, but a baby. Protecting not power, but possibility. As you watch, the symbolism becomes clear. Sometimes the greatest battles begin long before armies gather. Sometimes the future depends upon small acts of loyalty performed in silence. Days become months. Months become years. The child grows. Not quickly, not dramatically. The process feels gentle, natural. The cave becomes a world unto itself. Morning sunlight occasionally reaches the entrance. Birdsong echoes from nearby cliffs. Rain taps softly against stone during winter storms. The seasons pass, and Zeus continues to mature. Many surviving traditions emphasize his connection to nature during these years. Before becoming king of Olympus, he learns the rhythms of the earth. He experiences mountain winds. He hears rushing streams. He watches clouds gather and dissolve above distant peaks. Perhaps this explains why storms later become such an important part of his identity. Long before he commands thunder, he lives beneath it. Long before he rules the sky, he studies its moods. Ancient listeners would have recognized another layer of symbolism here. Many heroes spend part of their lives hidden away from civilization. They grow in wilderness. They learn humility before authority. The pattern appears again and again. Yet Zeus's story carries a unique twist. He is not merely preparing to enter society. He is preparing to reshape existence itself. One evening, as twilight settles across the mountains, something unusual occurs. A storm forms unexpectedly above the island. Dark clouds gather over distant ridges. The air becomes cooler. The scent of approaching rain drifts through the forest. Lightning flashes far beyond the horizon. The young Zeus watches, silent, curious, mesmerized. Ancient storytellers loved moments like this. Small events that seem ordinary at first glance, then later acquire deeper meaning. Was the storm merely weather? Or was it an omen, a sign that the child already shared a mysterious bond with the heavens? No one could know. And perhaps that uncertainty is exactly what gives the moment its power. The Greeks rarely demanded absolute answers. They often preferred mysteries. Questions invited contemplation. Certainty ended it. Meanwhile, far away, Cronus continues ruling. His confidence grows with each passing year. The prophecy seems forgotten. The swallowed stone remains hidden within him. The missing child remains undiscovered. And yet, subtle signs begin appearing around his kingdom. Dreams disturb his sleep. Birds behave strangely. Sacred fires occasionally flicker in unexpected ways. Ancient cultures paid close attention to such phenomena. They searched constantly for messages hidden within the natural world. Cronus, despite all his power, cannot entirely ignore these signs. Fear begins returning. At first, only occasionally, then more frequently. Perhaps he senses something changing. Perhaps fate is already moving beyond his control. Some traditions suggest that prophetic dreams become especially troubling during this period. Night after night, images emerge. A throne shaking, a storm approaching, a shadow growing larger. Ancient audiences would have immediately understood the symbolism. The future rarely arrives without warning. The difficulty lies in recognizing the warning when it appears. Back in the cave, Zeus remains unaware of these developments. He is still a child. His concerns remain simple. Exploration, learning, wonder. You follow him through mountain meadows bright with wild flowers. You watch him climb rocky paths. You see him pause beside clear springs reflecting the sky. The world feels enormous. Every valley invites discovery. Every distant peak promises mystery. And yet, hidden beneath these peaceful experiences lies an important emotional truth. Zeus grows up without a father. The absence shapes him, even if he does not fully understand it. Stories of Cronus reach him gradually. Whispers, fragments, warnings spoken by cautious guardians. The image that forms is complicated. Cronus is both father and threat, family and enemy. The relationship already exists, yet they have never truly met. Such contradictions create powerful emotional tension. What does a child feel toward the parent who wanted him destroyed? Curiosity, anger, fear, perhaps all three. The question remains unresolved, and that unresolved question quietly guides Zeus toward the future. One night, after the stars appear, the child experiences a dream. Ancient sources often associated dreams with divine messages. Not every dream carried meaning, but some seemed different, more vivid, more persistent, more difficult to forget. In this dream, Zeus stands atop a mountain. Clouds swirl around him. A great eagle circles overhead. Below stretches the entire world. Then a voice speaks, not loudly, almost like distant wind. The words remain unclear. When he awakens, only fragments linger. A feeling, a direction, a sense that something important waits beyond the horizon. Modern readers may interpret the dream symbolically. Ancient listeners likely heard prophecy. Either way, the effect remains the same. Destiny begins calling, not yet demanding, not yet urgent, only whispering, inviting. The child does not fully understand. How could he? He remains young. The future still lies hidden. Yet the mountains have already shaped him. The cave has already protected him. The guardians have already sacrificed for him. And somewhere beyond the stars, fate continues weaving its design. For now, Zeus sleeps peacefully beneath the earth. But outside the cave, winds move through the pine trees. Clouds gather over distant seas. And far beyond Crete, forces older than memory are beginning to stir once again. Morning arrives gently upon the mountains of Crete. The first sunlight touches distant peaks long before it reaches the cave. Golden light spreads slowly across the landscape. Shadows retreat from valleys. Birds awaken among olive trees. The cool scent of damp earth lingers after the night. You stand outside the cave and watch another day begin. Years have passed since Zeus first arrived here as an infant. The helpless child, hidden from fate, is changing. Not suddenly, not through miracles, but through countless small moments, through lessons, through experiences, through quiet observations of the world around him. The transformation feels natural, almost invisible. Yet destiny is already taking shape. Zeus is no longer a baby sleeping in the arms of nymphs. He has become a curious young god. Strong, thoughtful, restless. The mountains have become his teachers. He climbs rocky slopes before sunrise. He follows narrow paths winding through forests. He listens to streams rushing over stone. He watches clouds drift across enormous skies. Every experience teaches something. The Greeks often imagined wisdom growing through observation. Before a ruler commands others, he must first learn to understand the world itself. And so Zeus spends his youth not within palaces, but among nature's lessons. One afternoon you accompany him to a high ridge overlooking the sea. The climb is steep. Warm sunlight touches the rocks. Wild herbs release their fragrance beneath your feet. Far below, white waves sparkle beneath the afternoon sky. For a long time, Zeus simply watches. The sea stretches endlessly toward the horizon. Ships appear as tiny specks in the distance. Beyond them lies a world he has never seen. A world still ruled by Cronus. A world waiting for him. Curiosity stirs within him. Not yet ambition. Not yet destiny. Only curiosity. And sometimes curiosity becomes the first step toward greatness. Ancient storytellers often emphasize this quality. Unlike many rulers who seek power immediately, Zeus first seeks understanding. He asks questions, he observes, he listens. The habit remains with him throughout his life. Even after becoming king of Olympus, even after conquering the Titans, the desire to understand never entirely disappears. As evening approaches, the sky changes color. Gold becomes orange. Orange becomes crimson. Then, gradually, the stars begin to appear. Zeus spends many nights studying them. Ancient people viewed the heavens differently than most modern observers. The stars were not distant objects. They were signs, stories, messages, the visible language of the cosmos. Every constellation carried meaning. Every unusual movement inspired interpretation. The young Zeus learns these traditions from the nymphs and guardians who surround him. Some point toward heroic futures. Some warn of danger. Others remain mysterious. One particular story captures his imagination. A tale about fate. According to ancient belief, even gods existed within a larger cosmic order. Powerful though they were, destiny often remained beyond complete control. The idea fascinates Zeus. If fate governs everything, what role does courage play? If destiny cannot be changed, why struggle at all? These questions have no easy answers. Perhaps they never will. Yet they continue shaping the young god's thoughts. The greatest leaders are often those willing to wrestle with uncertainty, not those who believe they already possess every answer. One night, a strange event occurs. The air feels unusually warm. No wind moves through the trees. Even the insects seem quieter than usual. The stillness feels unnatural. As darkness settles, Zeus steps outside the cave. You follow. Above, thousands of stars shine brilliantly. Then suddenly, a streak of light crosses the heavens. A bright fire racing across the night sky. A falling star. Or perhaps something more. Ancient observers often interpreted such events as omens, messages from powers beyond mortal understanding. The young Zeus watches until the light disappears beyond distant mountains. For reasons he cannot explain, the sight remains with him. Years later, he will remember that moment, not because he understood it, but because he felt something, a quiet certainty, a sense that his life was moving toward a purpose, still hidden from view. Whether the omen possessed true meaning remains impossible to know. Ancient traditions disagree. Some versions mention celestial signs, others do not. Yet the image survives because it speaks to something universal, the feeling that certain moments matter long before we understand why. Meanwhile, stories about Cronus continue reaching Crete. Travelers bring rumors, whispers pass between guardians, fragments of news drift across the sea. The ruler of the Titans remains powerful. No rebellion threatens him. No enemy challenges his authority. His kingdom appears stable, secure, permanent. Yet appearances often deceive. Fear still follows him. Sometimes he dreams of thunder. Sometimes he awakens before dawn, unsettled by visions he cannot fully remember. According to some traditions, priests and seers begin offering troubling interpretations. Warnings, possibilities, predictions. None provide certainty, but together they create unease. Cronus cannot escape the prophecy, no matter how hard he tries. Back in Crete, Zeus gradually learns more about his family. The conversations are careful at first. His guardians hesitate. The truth is painful, but eventually questions become unavoidable. Who was his father? Why was he hidden? What happened to his brothers and sisters? The answers arrive slowly, piece by piece, like fragments of an ancient puzzle. At first, he struggles to believe them. The idea seems impossible. A father swallowing his own children. A king terrified of his descendants. The story feels too cruel, too absurd. Yet every guardian confirms it. The truth cannot be avoided forever. You watch the realization settle over him. The sea breeze moves through his hair. Moonlight illuminates the mountain path. For a long time, he says nothing. His silence reveals more than words could. This is the moment innocence begins fading. Not disappearing entirely, but changing, maturing. The world suddenly appears more complicated than before. Good and evil no longer seem simple. Love and fear become intertwined. Family and conflict become inseparable. These realizations mark an important step in Zeus's development. Powerful rulers often emerge from difficult truths, not because suffering automatically creates wisdom, but because confronting reality forces growth. The young god now faces a question he cannot ignore. What kind of being does he wish to become? Someone driven by fear, like Cronus. Someone ruled by anger. Someone seeking revenge. Or something else entirely. The answer remains uncertain, and uncertainty itself becomes part of his education. Another lesson arrives through the natural world. One autumn afternoon, dark clouds gather rapidly above the mountains. Thunder echoes in the distance. Rain sweeps across valleys. Lightning illuminates the sky. Most people seek shelter. Zeus does not. Instead, he stands upon a ridge and watches. The storm fascinates him. Its power feels alive, dynamic, beautiful, dangerous. The wind pulls at his clothing. Rain strikes his skin. Thunder rolls across the heavens. For a brief moment, he feels connected to something vast, something beyond explanation. Ancient storytellers later saw symbolism in this scene. The future Lord of Storms recognizing a part of himself. Not consciously, not yet, but instinctively, as though the sky itself acknowledges his presence. The storm eventually passes. Sunlight returns. Water glistens upon leaves. The world becomes calm once more. Yet the experience lingers. A memory, a feeling, a hint of what lies ahead. Years continue flowing like rivers toward the sea. Zeus grows stronger, wiser, more aware of his destiny. Still, important questions remain unanswered. When will he leave the cave? When will he confront Cronus? When will prophecy finally reveal its full meaning? No one knows. Not even Zeus. But the signs are increasing. Dreams grow more vivid. Omens appear more frequently. The sense of approaching change becomes impossible to ignore. Far beyond Crete, the old order continues standing. Yet foundations are beginning to shift. And somewhere within the heart of the hidden prince, a decision is slowly forming. The time for learning is not yet over, but the time for action is drawing closer with every passing season. The years of childhood are ending. You feel it in the changing rhythm of the days. The mountains of Crete remain beautiful. The forests still whisper beneath the wind. The sea still sparkles beyond distant cliffs. Yet something has shifted. The peaceful world that sheltered Zeus can no longer contain him. The cave that once felt vast now feels small. The hidden paths that once inspired wonder now lead toward unanswered questions. And those questions grow louder with each passing season. The young god stands at the threshold between preparation and destiny. The air is cool one evening as you follow him along a mountain ridge. Below, waves strike the shoreline in slow, steady rhythms. Above, stars begin appearing across the darkening sky. The scent of pine drifts through the wind. Far away, thunder murmurs beyond the horizon. Not close enough to threaten, only close enough to remind. Zeus pauses. His gaze remains fixed upon the distant world. The world ruled by Cronus. The world from which he has been hidden his entire life. For years, he accepted the necessity of secrecy. For years, survival remained enough. Now it no longer is. Knowledge has changed him. The truth about his family weighs heavily upon his thoughts. His brothers and sisters remain imprisoned. His mother continues carrying the burden of old grief. And the ruler responsible for that suffering still sits upon the throne of creation. The realization becomes impossible to ignore. Some choices cannot be postponed forever. Ancient myths often describe moments when destiny seems to gather around a person, not forcing them, not controlling them, but presenting a path that must eventually be acknowledged. This feels like one of those moments. Zeus stands at the edge of adulthood, and fate waits patiently beside him. In many versions of the myth, it is during this period that important conversations occur. Rhea returns more openly to her son. The distance imposed by necessity begins to fade. Mother and child finally share time that fear once stole from them. You can almost picture those evenings, sacred firelight flickering against stone walls, the scent of olive oil lamps, the sound of wind moving outside the cave, and between them, years of silence slowly giving way to understanding. Rhea tells stories, not merely of suffering, but of the family that Zeus has never truly known. She speaks of Hestia, gentle and steady, a presence of warmth and home. She speaks of Demeter, life-giver, guardian of growing things. She speaks of Hera, proud and strong, and of Hades and Poseidon, brothers lost before they ever had the chance to become themselves. As Zeus listens, the swallowed siblings cease being distant names. They become real. Individuals, family. The emotional impact is profound. Until now, prophecy has remained abstract. A story, a possibility. Now it becomes personal. The struggle ahead is no longer about power. It is about people, about relationships, about responsibility. The distinction matters. Many figures in mythology pursue power for its own sake. Zeus's journey begins differently. The desire to free others emerges before the desire to rule. Some scholars believe this detail explains why ancient Greeks often viewed his rise as legitimate rather than merely ambitious. He is not simply seeking a throne. He is attempting to correct an injustice. Yet even noble motives cannot erase uncertainty. One night, a dream comes to him. The dream feels unlike any before. The air within it seems strangely real. The colors appear vivid. The emotions linger long after waking. In the dream, Zeus stands upon a vast plain beneath dark clouds. Before him rises an enormous tree. Its roots stretch deep into the earth. Its branches vanish among the stars. At first, the tree appears healthy, strong, ancient. Then cracks begin spreading through its trunk. The wood splinters. Leaves fall. The giant tree slowly collapses. Yet as it falls, a new sapling emerges from the roots. Small, fragile, alive. When Zeus awakens before dawn, the image remains clear. Ancient interpreters would have recognized the symbolism immediately. The old order weakening, the new order preparing to emerge. Was the dream a divine message, a reflection of his thoughts? Another interpretation survives, in which dreams reveal possibilities rather than certainties. No one can know, and perhaps that mystery is exactly the point. Dreams in mythology often invite reflection rather than provide answers. The following days pass quietly, yet inwardly, change continues. Zeus begins seeking solitude more frequently. You accompany him on long walks through the mountains. He pauses beside springs. He sits upon high cliffs overlooking the sea. He spends hours watching clouds move across the sky. The behavior is not unusual. Many people approaching major decisions seek moments of reflection, but the scale of Zeus's decision is extraordinary. He is considering a challenge that could reshape existence itself. Failure would likely mean destruction. Success could transform the universe. The weight of such possibilities would trouble even the strongest mind. And despite later legends, Zeus is not without fear. This is important to remember. The myths often celebrate his courage. Yet courage exists only where fear is present. A person without fear requires no bravery. Zeus understands the danger. He understands Cronus's power. He understands the uncertainty surrounding prophecy. The future remains unwritten. One afternoon, another sign appears. A golden eagle circles above the mountains. The bird moves gracefully through the air, silent, effortless, majestic. It circles once, twice, then descends toward a nearby peak before disappearing. Eagles later become closely associated with Zeus. Ancient audiences hearing this story would immediately notice the connection. But at this moment, the symbolism remains incomplete. Only later will its significance become fully visible. The Greeks often structured myths this way. Events gain meaning through hindsight. Destiny reveals itself gradually, never all at once. As autumn deepens, a visitor arrives in secret. Different traditions identify this figure differently. Some mention ancient allies of Rhea. Others describe divine advisors. A few stories preserve hints of older powers operating behind the scenes. Whatever version one follows, the message remains consistent. The time for hiding is ending. The visitor brings knowledge. Information about Cronus. Information about the state of the cosmos. Information about opportunities that may never come again. Most importantly, the visitor confirms something Zeus has long suspected. The prophecy is still alive, despite every attempt to prevent it, despite years of secrecy, despite fear. Fate continues moving forward. The conversation lasts deep into the night. Torchlight flickers. Wind moves outside. Shadows shift across the cave walls. By the time dawn approaches, something inside Zeus has changed. Not dramatically, not visibly, but decisively. The long years of preparation have reached their conclusion. The hidden child has become a young god. The student has absorbed his lessons. The observer has gathered understanding. Now comes the moment every story eventually reaches. The moment when knowledge must become action. Just before sunrise, Zeus leaves the cave alone. You follow at a distance. The eastern horizon glows faintly. Stars begin fading. The world feels suspended between darkness and light. He climbs toward a high ridge overlooking sea and mountain alike. When he reaches the summit, he stops. The wind moves through the grass. The scent of wild thyme fills the air. Far below lies the island that protected him. Beyond it stretches the wider world. For a long time he says nothing. Then he lifts his gaze toward the heavens. The sky brightens. Clouds gather in distant layers. And somewhere beyond sight, thunder rolls softly across the horizon. A warning, or perhaps a welcome, no one can say. But Zeus finally understands what he must do. He will no longer remain hidden. He will seek out Cronus. He will attempt to free his siblings. He will challenge the order that has governed existence since before his birth. The decision does not guarantee victory. It does not eliminate fear. It simply marks a beginning. The most important beginnings often arrive this way, quietly, without ceremony, without certainty, only with resolve. As the first sunlight touches the mountains of Crete, the future king of Olympus turns away from childhood. Behind him lies safety. Ahead lies destiny. And far beyond the horizon, the imprisoned gods wait unknowingly for the brother they have never met. Yet the path toward their freedom will prove more dangerous than anyone can imagine. Dawn arrives quietly over the sea. Soft light spreads across the waters surrounding Crete. The waves glow silver and gold beneath the rising sun. A cool breeze moves inland through olive groves and pine forests. Birds awaken among rocky cliffs. The world appears peaceful. Yet beneath that calm surface, a decision has already changed everything. Zeus has chosen his path. The years of hiding are over. The years of preparation have ended. Now begins the first true test of his destiny. You walk beside him as he leaves the familiar mountains behind. The cave disappears into the distance. The winding paths of childhood slowly fade from view. Ahead lies uncertainty. Ahead lies danger. Ahead lies the kingdom of Cronus. For the first time, Zeus travels toward the source of the fear that shaped his entire life. The journey feels strangely quiet. Ancient myths often move quickly through these moments. Yet it is worth lingering here, because great transformations rarely happen in a single instant. They unfold through many smaller steps. Each step carries doubt. Each step carries hope. As Zeus travels, he enters landscapes few mortals have ever seen. Mountain passes hidden beneath clouds. Ancient forests where sunlight filters through enormous branches. Sacred valleys where streams sparkle among wild flowers. The world still bears the mark of Titan rule. Powerful, ancient, unchanging, or at least it appears unchanging. But appearances can be deceptive. Deep beneath the surface, the old order is beginning to weaken. According to several traditions, Zeus does not rush blindly into conflict. Instead, he seeks wisdom first. This detail reveals an important part of his character. Strength matters, courage matters, but strategy matters too. The future king of Olympus increasingly understands this truth. One story tells of Zeus encountering the wise Titaness Metis. Ancient sources preserve different versions of their meeting. Some describe her as an ally. Others emphasize her role as a guide. Whatever the details, her influence becomes significant. Metis represents wisdom, cunning, thoughtful action, the qualities needed to challenge overwhelming power. You imagine their conversations beside sacred springs and quiet groves. The scent of flowering herbs drifts through the air. Water flows gently over stone. Birdsong echoes among distant trees. And there, far from Cronus's throne, Zeus learns an essential lesson. Raw strength alone will not defeat fear. Fear must be outmaneuvered. Cronus became vulnerable because fear controls him. Every cruel decision he made emerged from that weakness. His power remains immense, but his judgment has become clouded. Metis helps Zeus recognize this. The realization changes everything. The coming struggle may not begin with war. It may begin with deception. The plan that emerges is elegant, dangerous, and deeply symbolic. If Cronus swallowed his children through fear, perhaps those children can be restored through wisdom. Different versions survive regarding exactly how events unfold. Ancient storytellers never entirely agreed, yet most traditions share the same central image. A special potion, a divine mixture, something capable of forcing Cronus to release what he has consumed. The preparation feels almost ceremonial. You stand beside sacred waters. The air smells of crushed herbs and mountain flowers. Torchlight flickers as evening falls. Ancient words are spoken. Ingredients are gathered. The atmosphere carries the feeling of a ritual standing between worlds. One step toward liberation, one step toward revolution. Yet success remains uncertain. Many prophecies fail. Many plans collapse. The future still hangs in delicate balance. Before the attempt begins, another omen appears. That night, Zeus dreams again. He stands beside a great river. The water flows from darkness into sunlight. At first, the current appears calm. Then 5 bright stars rise from the river and ascend into the sky. When he awakens, the image remains vivid. 5 stars, 5 siblings, 5 lives waiting in darkness. Ancient listeners would immediately recognize the symbolism. Whether divine message or subconscious hope, the dream strengthens his resolve. Morning arrives. The decisive moment approaches. According to the most famous version of the myth, Zeus gains access to Cronus through disguise and careful planning. The details vary. Some accounts suggest service, others suggest trickery, but all preserve the same emotional truth. The hidden child finally stands near the father who never knew him. Imagine the tension. The ruler of the cosmos sits confidently upon his throne. Cronus sees only another figure approaching. He does not recognize destiny standing before him. He does not recognize the prophecy he spent years trying to destroy. Fear has blinded him. The irony would not have been lost on ancient audiences. The very thing he feared has reached him because of his own actions. The potion is presented. Cronus accepts it. The moment feels ordinary, almost insignificant. No thunder shakes the heavens. No armies gather. No great speeches echo across creation. Only a simple choice. A drink taken. A decision made. Yet some of the most important turning points in mythology occur this way, quietly, without warning. The effects begin. At first, nothing seems unusual. Then, discomfort appears. Confusion follows. And suddenly, the impossible occurs. Cronus begins releasing what he swallowed long ago. The ancient stories describe the moment with awe. One by one, the lost gods emerge. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon. The siblings return to the world. The symbolism remains powerful even today. Lives trapped by fear are restored through courage and wisdom. What was hidden returns. What was lost is found. What seemed impossible becomes reality. For Zeus, the moment carries enormous emotional weight. These are not strangers, not merely allies. These are family members he has never truly known. Brothers, sisters. Relationships denied by years of separation. The reunion must have felt overwhelming. How do you greet siblings imprisoned before memory began? What words could possibly be enough? The myths rarely describe those conversations. Yet perhaps their absence makes them more moving. Some moments exceed language. The Greeks understood this. Not everything requires explanation. Sometimes silence conveys more than speech. As the siblings recover, the balance of power begins shifting immediately. Cronus' certainty evaporates. His control weakens. The prophecy he feared is no longer distant. It has become reality, and reality cannot be swallowed. Ancient traditions often describe the atmosphere changing during this period. Storms appear unexpectedly. Birds alter their migration patterns. Sacred fires burn strangely. Seers report troubling visions. Whether literal or symbolic, these signs serve an important purpose. Nature itself seems to recognize the approaching transformation. The cosmos senses that an age is ending. Meanwhile, Zeus's relationships begin evolving rapidly. The years of loneliness fade. For the first time, he experiences the strength that comes from belonging to a family. Hestia offers steadiness. Demeter offers warmth. Poseidon brings energy and fierce determination. Hades remains thoughtful and reserved. Hera possesses remarkable pride and intelligence. Each sibling contributes something unique. Together, they become more than individuals. They become a force capable of challenging the old order. Yet victory remains distant. The rescue changes everything. But it solves only part of the problem. Cronus still rules. The Titans still dominate creation. The coming struggle promises to be unlike anything the world has ever witnessed. As evening falls, Zeus stands beside his newly freed family. The sky above glows with countless stars. A sacred fire crackles nearby. The scent of smoke drifts into the cool night air. For a brief moment, peace settles over the gathering. A moment of reunion. A moment of gratitude. A moment to remember why the struggle matters. Then, a distant sound echoes across the heavens. Thunder. Low. Powerful. Unmistakable. The old world has heard what happened, and it is beginning to respond. Far beyond the horizon, forces older than memory are already preparing for war. The thunder continues long after sunset. You stand beneath a sky crowded with dark clouds. The stars appear only in brief openings between drifting shadows. Wind moves through tall grasses. Sacred fires flicker in the distance. The air feels charged with anticipation. The rescue of the lost gods has changed everything. For years, destiny moved quietly, hidden, patient. Now it steps openly into the world. There will be no return to secrecy, no return to childhood. no return to safety. The conflict that ancient storytellers would later call the Titanomachy has begun. Even the name carries weight. The War of the Titans, a struggle so vast that generations remembered it long after kingdoms disappeared. Yet before it becomes a legend, it begins as something deeply personal. A family divided. A father and son moving toward confrontation. Fear against hope. The old world against the new. You walk among the gathering allies of Zeus. The atmosphere is tense. The scent of smoke drifts through the night. Bronze weapons catch occasional flashes of firelight. Voices remain low. Thoughtful. Measured. Everyone understands the scale of what lies ahead. The Titans are not ordinary opponents. They are ancient powers, beings who ruled creation long before Zeus was born. Their strength feels woven into the foundations of the cosmos itself. Mountains seem to remember them. Rivers seem to recognize them. Even the sky appears shaped by their influence. How does one challenge something so deeply established? The question lingers in every mind, and perhaps most strongly in Zeus's own. Ancient myths often present heroes as confident, yet closer examination reveals something more nuanced. The greatest figures frequently carry doubt alongside determination. Zeus understands the danger. Victory remains uncertain. Prophecy offers possibility, not guarantees. This distinction matters because courage emerges most clearly when success is not assured. One evening, shortly before the first major battles, a remarkable sign appears. The sky remains unusually clear. Thousands of stars shimmer above the earth. A cool breeze drifts from distant mountains. Then a great eagle crosses the heavens. Its wings seem almost black against the starlight. Silent, graceful, powerful. The bird circles above Zeus before disappearing toward the east. Ancient audiences would immediately recognize this as an omen. The eagle increasingly accompanies Zeus's story, a symbol of authority, vision, divine favor. Yet not everyone interprets the sign the same way. Some traditions viewed it as encouragement. Others saw it as a warning that great responsibility accompanies great power. Both interpretations may contain truth. The Greeks rarely insisted upon simple meanings. Symbols often carried multiple layers. As preparations continue, Zeus realizes that strength alone will not be enough. The Titans possess enormous advantages: experience, numbers, territory. To overcome them, new allies must be found. And so begins one of the most fascinating chapters of the myth. Deep beneath the earth, ancient powers remain imprisoned. The Cyclopes, the 100-handed ones, beings feared even among immortals. According to tradition, these powerful figures were once confined by Cronus. Locked away, forgotten, abandoned, you descend into shadow alongside Zeus. The journey feels symbolic. A movement into hidden places. A search for resources ignored by the old regime. The air grows colder. The scent of stone and underground water surrounds you. Torchlight flickers against cavern walls. The deeper you travel, the more ancient everything feels. At last, the prisoners are found. The myths describe them in different ways. Sometimes terrifying, sometimes noble. Often both at once. Yet their emotional significance remains clear. They represent neglected strength, potential waiting to be released. Once again, Zeus chooses liberation over domination. He frees them, and the consequences prove enormous. Gratitude creates loyalty. Loyalty creates alliance. Alliance creates possibility. This pattern becomes one of the defining features of Zeus's rise. Where Cronus ruled through fear, Zeus increasingly builds relationships through trust. Not perfectly, not without mistakes, but noticeably. The difference shapes the future. As war approaches, dreams begin troubling both sides. Ancient cultures took dreams seriously. Not every dream carried meaning, but some seemed impossible to ignore. One tradition describes Cronus dreaming of a mountain splitting apart beneath a storm-filled sky. Another tells of Zeus dreaming that he stands upon a peak surrounded by light, while shadows retreat into the distance. Whether literal visions or symbolic storytelling, The dreams reveal an important truth. Both sides understand that history is approaching a turning point. Neither side can fully predict the outcome. The uncertainty deepens the tension. Then the battles begin. Ancient storytellers struggle to describe their scale. How could ordinary language capture a conflict involving gods and titans? Many accounts rely upon imagery rather than precise details. Mountains shake, seas churn, the heavens echo with unimaginable force. The descriptions feel almost dreamlike. And perhaps that is appropriate. Mythological wars often operate on symbolic levels as much as physical ones. You stand upon a high ridge overlooking one of the early confrontations. Dark clouds gather overhead. Rain sweeps across distant valleys. Lightning flashes beyond the horizon. The sound of battle rolls across the landscape like approaching storms. Zeus fights beside his siblings. Poseidon moves with relentless energy. Hades remains focused and disciplined. Hera watches events with sharp intelligence. Demeter and Hestia contribute in ways less dramatic, but equally important. For the first time, the family acts together. The unity creates strength. Yet victory remains elusive. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. According to tradition, the war lasts for years. Some versions even describe 10 full years of struggle. The number may be symbolic. Historians continue to debate. But the message remains clear. Transformation requires endurance. The old world does not surrender easily. Several times the conflict reaches stalemate. Neither side gains decisive advantage. Exhaustion spreads. Frustration grows. Even Zeus begins questioning whether victory is possible. These moments reveal another important aspect of his character. He continues, not because certainty returns, but because responsibility demands persistence. Many leaders appear impressive during easy victories. Far fewer maintain resolve during prolonged uncertainty. The myths repeatedly emphasize this distinction. One night, after a particularly difficult series of battles, Zeus climbs alone to a remote summit. The wind is cold. Clouds drift below the peak. The stars seem unusually bright. For a long time he sits in silence, reflecting, questioning, remembering. The mountain resembles those of Crete. The memory of childhood returns briefly. The cave, the guardians, the years of preparation, the simplicity of those days. Perhaps he wonders whether peace will ever return. Perhaps he worries about the cost of success. Ancient audiences understood such moments intuitively. Every meaningful choice demands sacrifice. Even destiny carries burdens. As midnight approaches, another sign appears. Lightning flashes across a clear sky. No storm accompanies it. No thunder follows immediately. Only brilliant light illuminating the darkness. A strange phenomenon. An impossible phenomenon. The kind of event ancient observers would have interpreted carefully. Was it encouragement, warning, divine approval? The answer remains uncertain. Yet Zeus rises with renewed determination. Sometimes signs matter less because of what they objectively mean, and more because of what they inspire. The following campaigns bring gradual progress. The alliances forged earlier begin producing results. The balance slowly shifts. The confidence of the Titans weakens. The confidence of Zeus's followers grows. Still, the outcome remains unresolved. Far too much remains at stake. As another evening descends upon the battlefield, fires glow across distant hills. The scent of smoke mingles with cool night air. Stars emerge one by one above the darkened world. For a brief moment, silence settles over the landscape. A pause between struggles. A breath before the next chapter. Yet beneath that calm surface, powerful forces are gathering. The allies hidden beneath the earth have not yet revealed their greatest gifts. And Zeus himself has not yet received the weapon that will forever define his name. Somewhere in the darkness ahead, thunder is waiting. The night is unusually still. After years of conflict, even the wind seems tired. You stand upon a rocky height overlooking the camps of Zeus and his allies. Hundreds of sacred fires glow across the dark landscape. Their light flickers against shields and stone. Above, countless stars shine with quiet brilliance. The war continues. But something is changing. The balance no longer feels the same. The Titans remain powerful. Their strongholds still stand. Their armies still fight. Yet cracks have begun appearing in the foundations of the old world. The momentum that once belonged to Cronus is slowly shifting. Even so, Zeus understands a difficult truth. Victory remains beyond reach. Not because he lacks courage, not because his allies lack determination, but because the struggle requires something more. A turning point. A new source of strength. A symbol powerful enough to unite hope and action. And somewhere deep beneath the earth, that turning point is waiting. The ancient beings freed earlier by Zeus have not forgotten his kindness. The Cyclopes remember. The 100-handed ones remember. Gratitude remains one of the strongest forces in mythology. Sometimes stronger than fear. Sometimes stronger than force itself. One evening, a messenger arrives carrying an invitation, or perhaps a summons. Ancient traditions differ. Either way, Zeus follows. You descend with him into the deep places of the world. The journey feels familiar now, yet no less mysterious. The air grows cooler with every step. Water drips from unseen ceilings. Torchlight dances across immense cavern walls. The scent of stone surrounds you. The deeper you travel, the more distant the war above seems. It is as though you are leaving one world and entering another. At last, the path opens into a vast chamber. The space feels almost impossible. Columns of natural stone rise toward darkness overhead. Underground rivers glow faintly in the torchlight. Ancient fires burn within enormous furnaces. And there, among sparks and shadows, the Cyclopes work. Ancient Greek myths often portray the Cyclopes differently than modern audiences expect. Not merely monsters, not merely giants. In many traditions, they are master craftsmen, creators of divine wonders, shapers of impossible things. The atmosphere around them feels sacred, purposeful, almost ceremonial. The air hums with anticipation. Metal glows within the furnaces. Hammers strike rhythmically. The sounds echo throughout the cavern like distant drums. Something extraordinary is being created, and everyone present seems to understand it. Zeus watches silently. The orange glow of molten metal reflects in his eyes. For years he has fought using courage, strategy, and determination. Now, another chapter of his transformation approaches. Not merely a new weapon, a new identity. The distinction matters, because symbols possess enormous power in mythology. The greatest heroes and gods often become associated with objects that represent their deeper nature. For some, it is a sword. For others, a shield. For Zeus, it will become thunder itself. Ancient storytellers describe the forging with awe. The Cyclopes gather materials unknown to ordinary beings, elements drawn from the heart of storms, fragments of celestial fire, powers hidden within the deepest structures of creation. Whether taken literally or symbolically, the meaning remains clear. This is not ordinary craftsmanship. This is mythic transformation. As sparks rise into the darkness, another mystery emerges. Some ancient traditions suggest that fate itself plays a role in the process. Not as a person, not as a voice, but as a presence. A subtle force guiding events toward their destined shape. The Greeks often imagined destiny this way. Invisible, yet impossible to ignore. You feel that presence now. The sense that countless threads are converging. The years in the cave. The rescue of the siblings. The alliances formed during war. Every choice seems connected to this moment. At last, the work is complete. The fires dim. The echoes fade. The chamber falls silent. One of the Cyclopes steps forward. In his hands rests the finished creation. The thunderbolt. Even the word feels powerful. Not simply a weapon. A force of nature shaped into purpose. Light flickers across its surface. Energy seems to pulse within it. The object appears alive, as though storms themselves have taken form. For a long moment, no one speaks. The silence becomes part of the ceremony, part of the significance. Then the thunderbolt is presented to Zeus. The future king reaches forward. His hand closes around it, and something changes. Ancient myths rarely describe emotional transformations directly. Instead, they show them through symbols. This is one of those moments. The young god who once watched storms from the mountains of Crete now carries their power. The curious child becomes something more. The hidden prince becomes a leader. The observer becomes a force. Yet what matters most is not the weapon itself. It is the responsibility attached to it. Power always asks a question. What will you do with it? The answer defines character, not the power. Zeus understands this instinctively, perhaps because he remembers Cronus, perhaps because he remembers fear, perhaps because years of reflection shaped him differently. Whatever the reason, the thunderbolt becomes a tool rather than a temptation, at least for now. The distinction will matter greatly in the years ahead. That night, another dream comes, one unlike any before. You stand beside Zeus within the dream. The sky stretches endlessly above. Clouds move in slow spirals across the heavens. At the center of the storm appears a great eagle. Its wings shine with silver light. The bird descends towards Zeus and lands upon a stone altar. Then it speaks. Not with words, not exactly. More with understanding, a feeling transferred directly into thought. The message is simple. Power and responsibility cannot be separated. When Zeus awakens, dawn is already approaching. The dream remains vivid, and although its meaning seems obvious, deeper layers linger beneath the surface. Many rulers desire authority. Far fewer accept the burdens that accompany it. The coming years will test whether Zeus truly understands the difference. As the war resumes, the effects of the thunderbolt become immediately apparent. Storms answer his call. Lightning strikes with astonishing precision. The confidence of his allies grows. Hope spreads through the camps. Ancient storytellers often emphasize morale during this stage of the conflict, not merely military advantage, emotional advantage. Belief becomes a force of its own. The Titans begin noticing the change as well. Reports reach Cronus. Descriptions of strange victories, stories of lightning appearing where none should exist, rumors of growing momentum among the rebels. Fear returns, the same fear that shaped so much of his life. The irony deepens. The more desperately he tries to hold power, the more unstable his position becomes. Some myths suggest that even nature begins responding differently. Birds alter their flight patterns. Clouds gather around unexpected peaks. Sacred groves produce unusual signs. Whether literal or symbolic, the message remains consistent. Creation itself senses approaching transformation. The old order weakens. The new order rises, yet victory still remains incomplete. The thunderbolt changes the war. It does not end it. More trials wait ahead. More sacrifices remain necessary. And the most difficult confrontation has yet to occur. As evening settles over the battlefield once again, Zeus climbs a hill overlooking the horizon. The thunderbolt rests beside him. Clouds drift across the fading sky. The scent of rain hangs in the air. Far away beyond mountains and valleys, the strongholds of the Titans still endure. And somewhere within those strongholds waits Cronus, father, enemy, the source of everything that began long ago. The final reckoning draws closer with every passing day. Soon, prophecy will demand its conclusion. Soon, son and father will stand face to face. And when that moment arrives, even thunder may not be enough. The storm arrives before dawn. You stand upon a high ridge overlooking the final battlefield. Dark clouds blanket the heavens from horizon to horizon. Wind sweeps across the mountains. The scent of rain fills the air. Lightning flickers deep within distant clouds, illuminating the landscape in brief flashes of silver. Below, armies gather. The war that has consumed years is approaching its conclusion. The Titanomachy has reshaped the world. Mountains bear scars from ancient struggles. Valleys echo with memories of countless battles. Entire generations have known nothing except conflict. Now everything narrows toward a single moment, a single confrontation. A son and a father, a prophecy and its fulfillment. A choice made long ago, finally reaching its destination. You look toward Zeus. He stands quietly among his allies. The thunderbolt rests in his hand. Rain falls lightly across his shoulders. Yet, despite the tension surrounding him, he appears calm. Not because he lacks emotion, but because years of struggle have taught him something important. Some battles are won long before they begin. Not through force, but through preparation, through patience, through becoming the person destiny requires. The child hidden in a cave no longer exists. The frightened uncertainty of youth has faded. In its place stands a leader shaped by responsibility. Yet even now, traces of the past remain. As dawn slowly approaches, memories return. The cave in Crete, the sound of waves below moonlit cliffs, the kindness of the nymphs, the grief of Rhea, the siblings he never knew. Every step of his journey feels present in this moment. The past has not disappeared. It stands beside him. Ancient myths often emphasize this truth. Identity is built from memory. The choices of yesterday become the strength of today. Across the battlefield, another figure waits. Cronus. Once ruler of the cosmos. Once unquestioned master of creation. The years of war have changed him as well. Fear still lingers within him, perhaps more strongly than ever. He spent his life trying to escape prophecy, trying to control fate, trying to prevent loss. Yet each attempt brought him closer to the very future he feared. The tragedy is almost painful to witness. Many Greek myths contain this pattern. The struggle against destiny becomes the instrument through which destiny arrives. As rain intensifies, the armies begin moving. The first sounds echo across the landscape. Shouts, thunder, the clash of bronze. Ancient storytellers describe the battle in grand terms. The earth shakes, the sea roars. The heavens themselves seem drawn into the conflict. Whether taken literally or symbolically, the message remains clear. This is not merely a war. It is a transformation of the cosmos. The old age is ending. The new age is being born. Lightning tears across the sky. The thunderbolt of Zeus flashes brilliantly. Storm clouds swirl above the battlefield. Rain falls harder. Wind howls through mountain passes. Nature seems determined to participate. For ancient audiences, this connection felt natural. The king of storms fights beneath storms. The symbolism is unmistakable. Yet even amid such vast events, the emotional center remains deeply personal. Everything eventually narrows toward Cronus, toward the father whose choices shaped so much suffering, toward the ruler whose fear imprisoned his own children, toward the source of the prophecy. The battle around them begins fading into the background, not literally, but emotionally. The world seems to hold its breath. Father and son finally stand face to face. No disguises, no secrets, no distance, only truth. For a moment, neither moves. Rain strikes the earth between them. Thunder rolls overhead. The silence feels immense. What does Zeus see? A monster, a tyrant, or simply a frightened father trapped by his own choices? The myths never fully answer, and perhaps they should not. Human beings often contain multiple truths at once. Cronus is cruel. Yet he is also afraid, powerful, yet deeply vulnerable. The Greeks understood complexity. They rarely reduced their characters to simple categories. The confrontation begins. Ancient traditions describe it differently. Some emphasize physical struggle. Others focus upon divine power. Several versions preserve symbolic elements rather than specific details. But all agree on the outcome. The balance of history shifts. The years of preparation finally bear fruit. The thunderbolt flashes again. Storms rage across the heavens. The authority of Cronus weakens. The authority of Zeus rises. The prophecy unfolds exactly as feared, and exactly as intended. Eventually, the struggle ends. The ruler of the Titans falls. The age of Cronus comes to an end. For a long moment, silence follows. Rain continues falling. Clouds drift slowly across the sky. The world feels strangely still, as though creation itself is processing what has happened.
The emotional impact is more complicated than simple triumph.
Victory rarely feels exactly as imagined. The child who dreamed of defeating a tyrant has succeeded. Yet the father remains his father. The source of pain remains part of his story. No victory can erase that truth. Many modern readers overlook this aspect of mythology. They expect celebration, resolution, completion. The Greeks often offered something subtler. Success solves certain problems, but emotional wounds rarely disappear overnight. Zeus has fulfilled the prophecy. He has not escaped its consequences. As the storm gradually weakens, another important decision emerges. What should happen to the defeated Titans? Ancient traditions vary. Some describe imprisonment deep beneath the earth. Others preserve alternative interpretations. Yet the central theme remains consistent. The old powers are removed from authority. Their age has ended. The future now belongs to someone else. The symbolism resonates far beyond mythology. Every generation eventually faces a similar transition. Old systems give way to new ones. New leaders inherit responsibilities created by earlier choices. History moves forward, not because anyone controls it completely, but because change remains unavoidable. As evening approaches, the clouds finally begin breaking apart. Sunlight emerges through scattered openings. Golden rays illuminate mountains still wet from rain. The battlefield grows quieter. The war is over. The long struggle has reached its conclusion. Zeus stands among his siblings. Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, Hestia. For the first time they look toward a future not defined by imprisonment or fear. The moment feels almost unreal, a dream finally becoming reality. Yet reality brings new questions. The overthrow of Cronus solved one problem. What comes next? Who will rule? How should power be used? Can the mistakes of the past truly be avoided? The answers remain uncertain, and uncertainty itself becomes part of the story. Ancient myths rarely end when victory arrives. Victory simply opens the door to a new chapter. That night, after the celebrations fade, Zeus climbs a mountain alone. The storm has passed completely. Stars shine brilliantly overhead. The air feels cool and clean. Far below, sacred fires glow in the darkness. For a long time he gazes upward, perhaps remembering, perhaps reflecting, perhaps wondering whether he is truly ready for what comes next. A dream returns briefly to his memory. The great tree falling, the young sapling rising from its roots. The meaning now feels clear. The old order has fallen. The new order has begun. Yet every tree that grows strong must face storms of its own. Far above, an eagle circles beneath the stars, and beyond the silence of the night, Olympus waits. The mountain of the gods, the future seat of power, the place where Zeus will soon discover that ruling the cosmos may prove even more difficult than conquering it. The first sunrise after the war feels different. You notice it immediately. The light seems softer. The air seems calmer. Even the wind moving across the mountains carries a new feeling. Not peace exactly. Peace requires time, but possibility. For the first time in countless years, the future no longer belongs to fear. The storm clouds of conflict have passed. The Titans have fallen. The prophecy has been fulfilled. And now a new challenge begins, because winning power and carrying power are not the same thing. The Greeks understood this distinction deeply. Many myths celebrate heroes who achieve greatness. Far fewer explore what happens afterward. Zeus's story does. His greatest test is only beginning. You climb alongside him toward a mountain unlike any other. Its slopes rise beyond ordinary clouds. Its summit seems to touch the heavens themselves. Ancient Greece possessed many sacred mountains, but none inspired imagination like Olympus. Even today, the mountain dominates the landscape of northern Greece. Its peaks disappear into mist. Its heights seem separated from the ordinary world. To ancient listeners, Olympus became the perfect home for the gods. a place between earth and sky, a place where divine decisions shaped mortal lives. As Zeus approaches its heights, the atmosphere changes. The air grows thinner, cooler. The scent of pine forests fades behind him. Clouds drift below rather than above. Sunlight gleams across distant peaks. The world spreads outward in every direction. Seas, islands, valleys, forests, all visible from this extraordinary height. For a moment, Zeus pauses. The sight is breathtaking. Yet beneath the beauty lies responsibility. Everything he sees will soon fall under his protection. The realization carries weight. Ancient kings often inherited territories. Zeus inherits a cosmos. That evening, the newly freed gods gather. The atmosphere feels solemn rather than celebratory. Sacred fires burn steadily. Golden torchlight flickers across marble-like stone. The scent of incense drifts through the cool mountain air. Stars emerge one by one above Olympus. The gathering resembles both a family reunion and a council meeting, because it is both. The future of existence must now be decided. The war answered one question: who would rule? But many others remain. How should the world be governed? How should justice function? What responsibilities accompany authority? These discussions reveal something important about Zeus. Despite his victories, he does not immediately act alone. He listens. He considers, he consults. The behavior contrasts sharply with the isolation that defined Cronus. The difference matters. Power shared through dialogue often proves stronger than power enforced through fear. At least in the beginning. As the conversations continue, another emotional truth emerges. Zeus is no longer merely a son fighting a father, no longer merely a hidden prince fulfilling prophecy. He has become a leader whose decisions affect others. The transformation feels profound. Ancient myths often portray growth through action. Each stage of Zeus's life has demanded a new version of himself. Child, student, rebel, warrior, now ruler. And every new role requires new qualities. One night, shortly after arriving on Olympus, Zeus experiences another dream. The dream unfolds beneath a sky filled with stars. He stands upon a high peak overlooking the world. At first, the landscape appears peaceful. Then he notices something unusual. Countless tiny lights glow below. Thousands of them, perhaps millions. The lights move, gather, separate, live. When he looks closer, he realizes they are people, mortals. Entire generations unfolding beneath the heavens. Some celebrate, some mourn, some pray, some struggle. The dream leaves a powerful impression. Upon waking, Zeus understands something he had not fully considered before. Rulership is not merely about gods, it is about everyone. Ancient Greek religion often imagined Zeus as a protector of order, not only among immortals, among mortals as well. The dream reflects this expanding responsibility. The horizon of his concern becomes larger. The consequences of his decisions become broader. Meanwhile, signs begin appearing throughout the world. Temples conduct new ceremonies. Priests interpret unusual omens. Travelers carry stories of the Titan War across seas and mountains. The name of Zeus spreads rapidly. Some greet it with hope, others with caution. Not everyone welcomes change. This remains true throughout history. Whenever one age replaces another, uncertainty follows. Will the new ruler prove wiser? Will promises become reality? Can victory translate into justice? These questions accompany every transition of power. The myths recognize them, and Zeus must answer them. One of the first challenges involves authority itself. The throne of Olympus symbolizes power, but symbols carry risks. A throne can serve responsibility, or it can encourage pride. The distinction depends entirely upon the person sitting upon it. Several ancient traditions preserve stories from this period, emphasizing humility. Not because Zeus lacks ambition, but because he remembers what unchecked fear did to Cronus. The memory acts as a warning, a lesson carved deeply into experience. Fear created tyranny. Perhaps wisdom can create something better. Yet no ruler remains untouched by temptation forever. The possibility already exists. like a distant cloud upon an otherwise clear horizon. The Greeks rarely portrayed their gods as perfect. Instead, they presented them as powerful beings, wrestling with familiar emotions: pride, jealousy, love, anger, responsibility. The seeds of future conflicts already exist, even during moments of success. One afternoon, Zeus walks alone across a high plateau near Olympus. The sky stretches endlessly above. Wildflowers sway in the wind. Eagles circle far overhead. The landscape feels peaceful. Then another sign appears, a sudden roll of thunder. No storm accompanies it. No clouds gather. Only a single, deep sound echoing across the heavens. Zeus stops, listens, reflects. Ancient audiences would immediately recognize the symbolism. The thunder serves as a reminder. Power remains present. Power remains dangerous. Power must remain guided by purpose. Whether the sound comes from the heavens or from the storyteller's imagination hardly matters. Its meaning remains effective. Throughout mythology, signs often function as mirrors. They reveal internal truths through external events. As the weeks pass, Olympus gradually transforms into a true home. The gods establish their places. Relationships deepen. Old wounds begin healing. Hestia brings warmth and stability. Demeter focuses upon life and growth. Hera increasingly demonstrates intelligence and authority. Poseidon remains energetic and passionate. Hades observes quietly, often preferring thought to celebration. The family that once existed only as a dream finally becomes real, and Zeus finds comfort in that reality. The loneliness of childhood begins fading, not disappearing completely. Some experiences leave permanent marks, but healing becomes possible. For the first time, the future seems open, yet mystery still remains. Ancient traditions disagree about certain details from this period. Some emphasize harmony, others hint at tensions already emerging. Perhaps both contain elements of truth. Families rarely become simple merely because a conflict ends. Relationships continue evolving. Challenges continue appearing. Life continues moving forward. The same will prove true for Olympus. As another evening settles over the mountain, sacred fires illuminate the gathering halls. The scent of roasted grain and olive oil drifts through the air. Laughter echoes occasionally among the gods. For a brief moment, contentment feels possible. Zeus stands at the edge of a balcony, overlooking the sleeping world below. Stars reflect upon distant seas. Villages glow faintly in the darkness. The cosmos appears peaceful, yet somewhere deep within, he senses another truth. Conquering the Titans was only the beginning. The future holds new responsibilities, new relationships, new mistakes, new lessons. And somewhere beyond the horizon of the present fate is already preparing the next challenge. Because becoming king is one thing, learning how to rule is another. The seasons begin to change upon Olympus. Clouds drift lazily around the mountain's highest peaks. Morning sunlight glows upon distant seas. Cool winds carry the scent of pine forests from far below. The Great War has ended. The wounds of conflict are slowly healing. And yet an important question remains unanswered. Who truly governs the world now? Victory brought freedom, but freedom requires structure. The Titans are gone. The old order has fallen. Something new must take its place. You find Zeus standing upon a marble terrace overlooking the horizon. The sky stretches endlessly above him. Far below, rivers wind through valleys toward distant coasts. The view is magnificent, yet his thoughts are occupied elsewhere. Power creates responsibilities, and responsibilities often require difficult choices. The most important choice of all now waits before him. How should the cosmos be divided? Ancient Greek mythology offers a fascinating answer. Instead of keeping everything for himself, Zeus chooses another path, a path shaped by memory. Perhaps he remembers the loneliness of his childhood. Perhaps he remembers the dangers of concentrating too much power in one place. Or perhaps he simply trusts his brothers. Whatever the reason, a decision emerges. The universe will be shared. The moment carries enormous symbolic importance. Unlike Cronus, Zeus does not attempt to possess everything. The choice reveals both confidence and restraint, qualities that become central to his identity during these early years of rule. One evening, the siblings gather. Sacred fires illuminate the halls of Olympus. The scent of olive oil lamps drifts softly through the air. Outside stars begin appearing above the mountain. The atmosphere feels solemn, respectful, almost ceremonial. Ancient traditions describe the division through the casting of lots, not conquest, not argument, chance guided by destiny. The method itself fascinated Greek audiences. It suggested that even gods sometimes submit to a larger order. Even rulers must occasionally trust fate. The lots are cast. The future unfolds. Zeus receives the sky. Poseidon receives the sea. Hades receives the underworld. The earth remains shared among them. Simple in description, profound in consequence. The structure will shape mythology for generations. Yet what matters most is not the division itself. It is the relationships that emerge from it, because power shared among brothers remains complicated. Even loving families experience tension. And these brothers are not ordinary beings. They are gods, ancient, powerful, proud. You spend time observing each of them. Poseidon adapts quickly to his realm. The sea suits him. Its restless energy mirrors his own nature. Its storms reflect his passions. Its vast horizons appeal to his adventurous spirit. When he stands beside crashing waves, he seems entirely at home. The relationship between Zeus and Poseidon remains strong during this period. They fought together, suffered together, won together. Shared hardship often creates lasting bonds, yet subtle differences already exist. Poseidon is more impulsive, more emotional, more easily angered. Zeus increasingly favors patience and long-term thinking. The contrast enriches their relationship. Neither brother is entirely right, neither entirely wrong. Their differences simply reflect different ways of engaging with the world. Meanwhile, Hades journeys toward his own realm, the underworld. Few places in mythology inspire more curiosity. Modern interpretations often misunderstand it. Ancient Greeks did not necessarily view it as a place of punishment. It was primarily the destination of the dead, a realm of shadows, memory, and inevitability. The responsibility placed upon Hades is immense. Someone must govern what awaits beyond life. Someone must maintain balance. The task suits his temperament. Quiet, thoughtful, steady. Among the brothers, Hades often appears the most reserved, the most introspective, perhaps because his kingdom constantly reminds him of mortality. You watch Zeus and Hades share several conversations before the departure. They stand together beneath moonlit skies. The cool mountain air carries the scent of distant forests. The discussions are calm, respectful, yet tinged with sadness. Distance is about to separate them. Not conflict, not resentment, simply circumstance. Different responsibilities require different paths. Many ancient listeners likely recognized something familiar here. Families often change as life unfolds. People grow, responsibilities emerge. Loved ones move away. Relationships evolve. The bond remains, but its expression changes. The same is true for gods. As the years pass, stories begin circulating among mortals. Fishermen pray to Poseidon before voyages. Families honor Hades during funeral rites. Communities appeal to Zeus during storms and ceremonies. The three brothers become distinct presences within religious life. Yet their connection remains important. One cannot fully understand any of them in isolation. Each defines himself partly through the others. Ancient mythology often works this way. Characters gain depth through relationships, not merely through individual achievements. One night, Zeus experiences another dream. The dream unfolds beside an endless shoreline. The sea is calm. Moonlight reflects across the water. Poseidon stands upon one side. Hades stands upon the other. Between them stretches a narrow bridge. Zeus begins crossing. At first, the bridge appears strong. Then mist rises from the sea. The structure becomes difficult to see, uncertain, fragile.
When he awakens, the symbolism lingers. Relationships require attention.
Connection cannot be taken for granted.
Distance creates challenges, even among brothers.
Ancient interpreters would have understood immediately.
The dream serves as a reminder.
Power divided peacefully still requires effort to maintain harmony. As time passes, subtle tensions occasionally appear.
Nothing dramatic.
Nothing destructive, simply the natural friction that emerges between strong personalities.
Some traditions preserve hints of disagreement.
Questions regarding authority, questions regarding influence, questions regarding territory. Historians continue debating how much of this reflects early mythology and how much reflects later storytelling.
The uncertainty itself becomes part of the mystery.
What matters is that the relationships remain dynamic, alive, changing, never static. Zeus increasingly learns that leadership involves more than issuing commands.
It requires maintaining balance,
listening, negotiating, understanding competing perspectives. These lessons prove invaluable because Olympus itself continues growing more complex. New gods rise to prominence. New responsibilities emerge. New challenges approach from unexpected directions. The peaceful simplicity following the Titan War cannot last forever. Life never remains still. One afternoon, as clouds gather around Olympus, another omen appears. 3 eagles circle above the mountain. Each follows a different path. One turns toward the sea, one toward the distant horizon, one remains overhead. The sight lasts only moments before the birds disappear. Yet, observers remember it. Ancient audiences loved signs like this. Simple images carrying multiple interpretations. Did the eagles represent the brothers? Did they symbolize unity despite separation? Or something else entirely? No definitive answer survives. And perhaps none is needed. The mystery encourages reflection. That evening, Zeus stands alone upon a balcony overlooking the world. The sky glows with the final colors of sunset. Far away, the sea reflects golden light. Beyond the horizon lies the realm of Poseidon. Below the earth rests the kingdom of Hades. 3 brothers, 3 domains, 1 shared history. For a moment, the arrangement feels stable, balanced, almost permanent. Yet Zeus has already begun learning an important truth. No balance lasts forever without effort. Relationships require tending. Trust requires renewal. And somewhere beyond Olympus, another relationship is quietly approaching. One that will shape the future of the gods more profoundly than any other. A queen has not yet taken her place beside the king, but destiny is already guiding their paths toward one another. The summer winds move gently across Olympus. Wildflowers bloom among mountain meadows. Golden sunlight lingers long into the evening. The scars of war continue fading. The new order of the cosmos grows stronger. And yet Zeus increasingly discovers that power alone cannot complete a kingdom. A ruler may command the skies. A ruler may hold authority over gods and mortals. But leadership remains incomplete without relationships, without trust, without companionship, without someone capable of standing beside the throne rather than beneath it. Long before ancient poets sang of their conflicts, the story of Zeus and Hera began with admiration. And perhaps with mystery. You first notice Hera standing upon a high terrace, overlooking the clouds. The afternoon sun illuminates her figure. The wind moves softly through her hair. Far below, valleys stretch toward distant seas. She appears calm, confident, entirely comfortable in her own presence. Among the children of Cronus and Rhea, Hera possesses a unique strength. Not the raw force of battle, not the restless energy of storms, something quieter, yet equally formidable. Dignity, self-respect, authority. Ancient Greeks associated Hera with queenship marriage and sacred order. But before becoming a queen, she is simply herself. Intelligent, proud, observant. The qualities that later shape her destiny are already present. Zeus notices them, and perhaps that is what draws him toward her. Not beauty alone. Many myths mention beauty, but beauty rarely sustains a relationship. Respect does. Recognition does. The ability to see strength in another person does.
You watch their conversations begin. At first they are simple. Walks through gardens near Olympus.
Discussions beneath star-filled skies. Shared reflections on the future.
The atmosphere feels peaceful, almost surprisingly ordinary.
Ancient myths often focus upon dramatic events.
Yet relationships grow through smaller moments.
A glance, a conversation,
a shared silence. The Greeks understood this, which is why traces of these quieter experiences survive within the traditions.
One evening, the two stand together watching sunset.
Clouds glow orange and gold around the peaks of Olympus.
The air smells faintly of olive trees carried upward by distant winds.
For a long time, neither speaks. The silence feels comfortable, natural, not empty.
There is a difference. Eventually, Hera asks a question.
A difficult one.
What kind of ruler does Zeus wish to become? The question lingers between them. Ancient audiences would have recognized its significance immediately. The question is not about power. It is about character, about intention, about the future. Zeus does not answer immediately. He gazes toward the horizon,
perhaps remembering Cronus,
perhaps remembering the cave in Crete,
perhaps remembering years of war. Finally, he speaks.
Not about conquest, not about authority,
but about responsibility.
The answer reveals how much he has changed.
The frightened child, hidden from fate, is gone.
The ambitious young rebel has matured. In his place stands someone increasingly aware of the weight carried by leadership.
Hera listens carefully, and in that moment, mutual respect deepens. Yet no meaningful relationship remains simple forever.
Ancient myths preserve multiple versions of how Zeus and Hera eventually become husband and wife.
Some stories emphasize courtship, others focus upon symbolic encounters.
Still others preserve regional traditions that differ considerably. Historians continue debating which elements developed earliest.
The uncertainty itself becomes part of the mythology.
Like many ancient relationships, their story exists in several forms simultaneously. What remains consistent is the outcome. They become one of the most important couples in Greek mythology. The wedding itself becomes legendary.
Imagine the scene.
Olympus shines beneath clear skies. Sacred fires burn throughout the mountain.
The scent of flowers fills the air.
Gods gather from every corner of creation. Music echoes across marble halls.
The celebration lasts long into the night.
Ancient traditions often describe divine weddings as cosmic events.
Not merely personal ceremonies, moments when order is reaffirmed.
When relationships become part of the structure of the world. The marriage of Zeus and Hera carries exactly this significance. King and queen, sky and sovereignty, power and legitimacy. Together, they symbolize more than themselves. For a time, happiness seems possible. The early years of their union possess a sense of harmony. They rule together,
advise one another,
share responsibilities.
You watch them walk through the halls of Olympus.
You observe conversations that continue late into the evening. The bond appears genuine, strong, meaningful, and yet the myths also contain shadows. Not immediate shadows, but distant ones, hints of future tensions. The Greeks rarely told stories of perfect relationships. Perfection leaves little room for growth, or conflict, or reflection. Instead, they explored complexity. And few relationships in mythology become more complex than this one.
One night, shortly after their marriage, Hera experiences a dream.
The dream unfolds within a beautiful garden. At the center grows a magnificent tree covered in golden leaves. Birds sing among its branches. Everything appears peaceful. Then a sudden wind begins blowing. The leaves tremble. The branches sway. The tree remains standing. But maintaining its balance requires effort. When Hera awakens, the dream remains vivid. Ancient interpreters might have viewed it as a warning. Or perhaps a reminder. Strong relationships endure challenges. Strength does not eliminate difficulty. It helps navigate difficulty. The symbolism feels subtle, yet powerful. Meanwhile, Zeus continues adjusting to life as king. The responsibilities multiply. Disputes require judgment. Prayers require attention. The growing population of gods creates new dynamics. The simplicity of victory fades behind the complexity of governance. Hera often becomes one of his most trusted advisors. Her perspective differs from his, which is precisely why it proves valuable. Healthy relationships rarely depend upon identical viewpoints. They depend upon mutual respect. Ancient listeners likely appreciated this aspect of the story. Even gods benefit from wise counsel. As years pass, the queen's presence becomes increasingly central to Olympus. Ceremonies honor her. Temples celebrate her. Mortals invoke her blessing during marriages. Her influence expands far beyond the mountain itself. The partnership shapes religious life throughout the Greek world. Yet subtle tensions continue gathering beneath the surface. Nothing dramatic yet, only possibilities. Questions waiting for future answers. Can immense power coexist comfortably with commitment? Can authority remain balanced within a marriage? Can two strong personalities share a throne indefinitely without conflict? The myths do not rush these questions. Instead, they allow them to develop gradually, like distant clouds forming beyond the horizon. One afternoon, another omen appears. A pair of peacocks crosses a meadow near Olympus. Their feathers shimmer brilliantly in the sunlight. The birds move together, perfectly coordinated. Then, unexpectedly, they separate. Each follows a different path before eventually returning to the same place. Observers remember the sight. Ancient traditions often associated peacocks with Hera. The image feels symbolic. Togetherness, separation, reunion. The cycles that define many relationships. Whether the omen carried genuine meaning remains impossible to know. Yet its symbolism resonates. As evening settles upon Olympus, Zeus and Hera stand together, overlooking the world below. The sky glows purple and gold. The first stars begin appearing. The cool mountain air carries the scent of distant forests. For a moment, everything feels balanced. King and queen, partners, allies, a shared future stretching before them. Yet fate remains patient. The greatest tests of their relationship have not yet arrived, and somewhere beyond Olympus, new stories are already beginning. Stories involving gods, heroes, mortals, and choices whose consequences will echo across generations. The years move gently across Olympus. Seasons come and go. Snow dusts the highest peaks during winter. Spring returns with wildflowers and clear skies. Summer brings warm winds from distant seas. Autumn paints valleys gold and bronze. The rhythms of the world continue. And as they do, the household of Zeus begins to grow. You stand upon a terrace overlooking the clouds one quiet morning. The sky stretches endlessly above. The air feels fresh and cool. Far below, villages awaken beneath the first light of dawn. Smoke rises from hearth fires. Fishermen prepare their boats. Farmers walk among fields heavy with grain. Life unfolds everywhere. And above it all sits Olympus, the home of the gods, the center of countless stories yet to come. For Zeus, a new chapter has begun. The warrior who challenged Cronus is now a father. The transformation carries enormous significance. Leadership taught him responsibility. Fatherhood deepens that lesson, because responsibility changes when it becomes personal. The myths preserve many stories about the children of Zeus. Some are ancient gods. Some become legendary heroes. Some inspire entire cities and regions. Yet beneath all the famous names lies a deeper theme: legacy. The desire to leave something lasting behind. The desire to shape the future through those who come after. Ancient audiences understood this instinctively. Every generation influences the next. Even gods participate in that cycle. One of the most remarkable stories concerns the birth of Athena. Ancient traditions preserve several versions, yet all contain an element of mystery. According to the most famous account, wisdom enters the world in an extraordinary way. The symbolism fascinated generations of storytellers. Athena becomes more than a daughter. She becomes an embodiment of intelligent strategy and thoughtful action, qualities Zeus increasingly values. You watch their relationship develop across the years. Unlike many gods, Athena often shares her father's interest in judgment and planning.
Conversations between them continue late into the evening. They discuss leadership, justice, the responsibilities attached to power. The connection feels meaningful, not because they always agree, but because they understand one another. The bond reveals another side of Zeus. Less warrior, less ruler, more teacher, more parent. Ancient myths frequently show different aspects of a character through different relationships. Athena helps reveal the thoughtful side of Zeus, a side not always visible during war. Another child brings another lesson. Apollo enters the growing divine family. Bright, curious, creative, associated with music, prophecy, and light. His presence introduces a different energy. Where Athena often reflects careful reasoning, Apollo reflects inspiration. The relationship between father and son evolves gradually. Zeus admires confidence. Apollo possesses plenty of it. Yet confidence can become pride if left unchecked. And so another lesson emerges. Guidance, the challenge of helping others discover who they are without controlling who they become. Every parent eventually faces that challenge. Even the king of Olympus. Nearby stands Apollo's twin sister, Artemis. Independent, strong-willed, deeply connected to wilderness. She reminds Zeus of aspects of his own youth. The mountains, the forests, the years spent learning from nature rather than courts. Their relationship carries a quiet respect. Artemis follows her own path. Zeus allows her that freedom. The choice reveals growing wisdom. Not every relationship requires constant direction. Sometimes trust itself becomes a form of guidance. As the family expands, Olympus grows busier. Laughter echoes through its halls. Disagreements emerge. Celebrations fill sacred spaces. The atmosphere feels increasingly alive. The loneliness of Zeus's childhood becomes a distant memory. Not forgotten, never forgotten, but transformed. The emptiness left by years of isolation gradually fills with connection. Yet mythology rarely allows happiness to remain uncomplicated. Complexity always follows. And Zeus himself contributes to that complexity. Ancient traditions openly acknowledge his flaws, his desires, his mistakes, his restless nature. The Greeks did not create perfect gods. They created recognizable ones, powerful yet deeply emotional, capable of wisdom, capable of poor decisions, capable of generosity, capable of causing pain. This complexity explains why the myths endure. They reflect the contradictions found within real life. One evening, Hera stands beside a balcony overlooking the sea. The sunset glows red and gold beyond the horizon. The air smells faintly of rain. You sense concern within her silence. The relationship between Zeus and Hera continues evolving. Love remains present. Respect remains present, but so do tensions. Ancient traditions preserve many stories exploring these challenges. Not because conflict destroys the relationship, but because conflict becomes part of the relationship. The myths invite reflection rather than easy judgment. How does power affect commitment? How do responsibility and desire coexist? The questions remain surprisingly timeless. Meanwhile, another dream visits Zeus. The dream unfolds beside a vast river. Countless faces appear upon the water's surface. Some belong to gods. Some belong to mortals. Some remain unfamiliar. As the river flows, the faces continue changing. Generation after generation, life after life. When Zeus awakens, the image lingers. The meaning seems clear. Legacy extends beyond family. A ruler influences countless lives. Many never meet him. Many never know his name directly. Yet his choices affect them nonetheless. The dream serves as a reminder. Authority always reaches farther than expected. As years pass, stories about Zeus spread across the mortal world. Temples rise in his honor. Sacred festivals celebrate his protection. Athletes compete beneath his blessing. Travelers invoke his name before difficult journeys. His influence grows. Yet what fascinates many worshippers is not merely his power, it is his role as father. Not only father of gods, father of heroes. The ancient Greeks loved heroes. Figures standing between mortal and divine worlds. Individuals capable of extraordinary deeds. Many heroic traditions eventually become connected to Zeus. One of the most famous involves Heracles. Though the greatest adventures of Heracles belong to another time, his future already begins taking shape. Ancient storytellers often link Zeus to heroic destiny, not because heroes inherited perfection, but because they inherited potential. Potential requiring effort, sacrifice, and courage to fulfill. The theme resonates deeply throughout Greek mythology. Birth matters. Character matters more. One afternoon, while walking alone through a grove near Olympus, Zeus encounters another sign. A young oak tree grows beside an older one. The larger tree provides shade and protection, yet the smaller tree continues growing in its own direction. The image appears simple, almost ordinary, yet ancient audiences loved such symbolism. Parents nurture, children grow. Eventually, they develop their own identities. The cycle continues. The sight leaves Zeus thoughtful, perhaps because it reflects something he increasingly understands. True legacy is not replication. It is continuation. The future should not become a copy of the past. It should become something new. As evening settles over Olympus, torches illuminate the gathering halls. The scent of roasted grain drifts through the air. Music echoes softly from distant chambers. Gods and goddesses share stories beneath star-filled skies. The mountain feels alive. A family. A kingdom. A community. Zeus stands among them observing, reflecting, grateful. Yet destiny continues moving. New challenges approach. New questions emerge. The role of father has expanded his understanding of responsibility. Soon, another relationship will test that understanding even further. A titan once helped him gain victory through wisdom. Now, another conflict involving wisdom power and humanity is beginning to take shape. And far below Olympus, beside the fires of mortal settlements, a figure named Prometheus is already preparing a gift that will change the world forever. Night settles softly across the world. You stand upon the slopes of Olympus and watch darkness spread through distant valleys. One by one, stars appear above the earth. The sea reflects silver moonlight. Villages glow faintly in the distance. Tiny points of light flicker against the vastness of the night. The sight feels peaceful. Yet, hidden within those small flames lies a question that will challenge the authority of Zeus more deeply than any battlefield ever could. What should be given to humanity, and who has the right to decide? The years have made Zeus stronger, wiser in many ways, more experienced in the burdens of leadership. Yet leadership often presents challenges with no perfect solution. The conflict with Prometheus becomes one of those challenges. Unlike Cronus, Prometheus is not driven by fear. Unlike the Titans, he is not seeking domination. That is precisely what makes the situation so complicated. Ancient traditions describe Prometheus as intelligent, creative, and deeply interested in the fate of mortals. Some stories portray him almost as a teacher, others emphasize his rebellious spirit. Still others preserve more nuanced interpretations. Historians continue debating exactly how ancient audiences understood him. Yet one truth remains consistent. Prometheus cares about humanity, and humanity fascinates him. You can imagine him walking among early settlements, watching people struggle against cold nights, watching them build homes, watching them search for meaning beneath the stars. The Greeks often admired intelligence, and Prometheus embodies intelligence in a particularly daring form. He believes knowledge should be shared, even when sharing it carries risks. At first, the relationship between Zeus and Prometheus is not openly hostile. In fact, earlier traditions sometimes portray them as allies. After all, Prometheus supported Zeus during the Titan War. Their history contains cooperation, mutual respect, shared victories. That history makes the coming conflict even more meaningful. The most difficult disagreements often emerge between people who once stood on the same side. One evening, Zeus and Prometheus speak beneath a sky crowded with stars. The air feels cool. A gentle breeze moves across Olympus. Sacred fires burn nearby. Their conversation begins calmly, thoughtfully, almost philosophically. Prometheus speaks of human potential, their creativity, their curiosity, their capacity to learn. Zeus listens. And to some extent, he agrees. Human beings possess remarkable qualities. Even the gods recognize this. Yet Zeus also sees dangers. Knowledge brings power. Power creates consequences. The memory of Cronus remains somewhere in the background of his thoughts. Uncontrolled power can cause suffering. The challenge lies in finding balance. Ancient Greek myths often explore exactly this tension: progress and caution, freedom and responsibility, innovation and wisdom. The Prometheus story becomes one of mythology's greatest examinations of those themes. According to the most famous version of the myth, another disagreement soon follows. A sacrifice is prepared, offerings intended for the gods. Prometheus devises a clever trick. He divides the sacrifice into two portions. One appears attractive, but contains less value. The other appears plain, but contains the better portion. Zeus must choose. The story survives in several forms. Some versions emphasize deception, others emphasize symbolism. Still others suggest Zeus understands the trick and allows events to unfold anyway. The uncertainty remains fascinating. Ancient myths often preserve multiple layers of meaning simultaneously. Whatever interpretation one prefers, the consequences prove significant. Trust weakens. Tension grows. Questions of authority become impossible to avoid. Then comes the most famous act of all, the theft of fire. You stand beside a mortal settlement on a cold night. Wind moves across the landscape. Darkness surrounds the small community. The people huddle together, seeking warmth, seeking light, seeking protection. In ancient thought, fire represented much more than heat. It symbolized knowledge, technology, civilization, transformation. Fire allowed cooking, metalworking, craftsmanship, progress. To possess fire was to possess possibility. Prometheus understands this, and according to tradition, he decides humanity should have access to that possibility. The image remains one of the most powerful in all mythology. A spark carried from the divine realm, a gift crossing the boundary between gods and mortals. The details vary. Some stories describe a hollow fennel stalk concealing the flame. Others preserve alternative imagery. Yet the central meaning remains unchanged. Knowledge enters the human world. The consequences begin immediately. Fires appear throughout settlements. Darkness retreats. New skills emerge. Life changes. The transformation feels almost miraculous. Ancient audiences would have recognized the symbolism instantly. This is not merely a story about fire. It is a story about advancement, about what makes civilization possible, about the risks and rewards of knowledge. When Zeus learns what has happened, his reaction becomes one of mythology's most debated subjects. Was he angry because his authority was challenged? Was he concerned about humanity misusing power? Was he enforcing cosmic order? Or did later storytellers reshape the narrative to explore deeper philosophical questions? Historians continue debating. No single answer satisfies every interpretation. Perhaps that ambiguity explains why the story endures. The best myths rarely provide simple conclusions. They invite reflection. You walk with Zeus along the heights of Olympus. Clouds drift beneath the mountain. The air feels colder than usual. He watches the distant glow of countless fires appearing across the earth. The sight is beautiful and troubling. Both emotions coexist. That complexity feels important. Modern discussions often seek heroes and villains. Greek mythology frequently offers something more challenging: conflicting perspectives, competing truths. Prometheus sees opportunity. Zeus sees responsibility. Both positions contain merit. The tension between them becomes the heart of the story. Eventually, punishment follows. Ancient tradition describes Prometheus being bound to a remote mountain. The image became legendary. A lonely figure, enduring suffering beneath open skies. Generations of poets found meaning in the scene. Some interpreted it as a warning against defying authority. Others viewed it as the price paid by visionaries who challenge established limits. Still others saw both meanings at once. The symbolism remains remarkably flexible. That flexibility helps the myth survive for centuries. One night after these events, Zeus experiences a dream. He stands beside a great fire burning atop a mountain. The flames illuminate countless faces gathered below. Some look grateful,
some fearful, some curious. The fire continues growing brighter. Then the dream shifts. The flames become stars scattered across the sky. Each star represents a choice, a possibility, a future not yet decided. When Zeus awakens, the dream lingers. Its message feels uncertain, perhaps intentionally so. Knowledge always creates possibilities. What people do with those possibilities remains beyond prediction. The realization leaves him thoughtful, more thoughtful than angry. As years pass, humanity continues developing. Settlements expand. Skills improve. Stories spread. The gift of fire changes everything. And although the conflict with Prometheus leaves lasting scars, it also leaves lasting questions. Questions about power, questions about wisdom, questions about the relationship between gods and mortals. The Greeks never fully resolved those questions. Instead, they preserved them, generation after generation, temple after temple, story after story, perhaps because some questions are too important for easy answers. As evening returns to Olympus, Zeus stands upon a balcony overlooking the mortal world. Thousands of fires now shine below, tiny lights scattered across valleys, coastlines, and hills. The sight reminds him of the dream he experienced long ago. The river filled with countless faces. The realization returns. A ruler's decisions reach farther than he can ever fully see, for better or worse. And somewhere beyond the glow of those mortal fires, another challenge is already gathering strength. A threat older than kingdoms, older than civilization. A force born from chaos itself. Soon, Zeus will face an enemy unlike any before, and the fate of Olympus will once again hang in the balance. The fires of humanity continue glowing across the earth. From the heights of Olympus, they resemble scattered stars fallen from the heavens. Small, fragile, beautiful. You stand beside Zeus on a quiet evening as he watches them. A cool wind drifts across the mountain. The scent of pine and distant rain fills the air. Above, constellations shine brilliantly. Below, countless lives unfold beyond sight. For a moment, everything appears peaceful. Yet peace often exists only between storms. And another storm is already gathering. Not among mortals, not among the gods, but from forces far older than either. The Greeks imagined the universe as a place where order constantly faced challenges. Chaos never disappeared completely. It waited, lingered, watched from the edges of creation. The defeat of Cronus brought stability, but stability remains fragile. Zeus is beginning to learn that ruling requires constant vigilance. The greatest threats do not always announce themselves immediately. Sometimes they grow in silence. Far beyond Olympus, strange signs begin appearing. Earth trembles unexpectedly. Ancient springs change their course. Unusual storms form over distant seas. Birds abandon nesting grounds. Sacred fires burn with unfamiliar colors. Priests and seers take notice. Ancient cultures paid careful attention to such disruptions. The natural world often served as a language through which larger forces revealed themselves. Whether the signs were real or symbolic mattered less than what they represented. Something was wrong. Something was approaching. One evening, a troubling dream visits Zeus. The dream unfolds beneath a black sky. No stars shine overhead. No moon illuminates the darkness. He stands alone upon a barren plain. At first, the landscape appears empty. Then he notices movement far away. A shadow, enormous. The figure grows larger with every step. Mountains seem small beside it. Storm clouds gather around its form. Just before the figure reaches him, Zeus awakens. The dream leaves a lingering sense of unease. Ancient interpreters would have recognized the warning immediately. Not because dreams predict exact events, but because they reveal approaching challenges. The symbolism feels unmistakable, a threat greater than any yet encountered. Soon, the source of that threat becomes known. Ancient myths speak of Typhon. Even among legendary monsters, Typhon occupies a unique place. Descriptions vary dramatically. Some portray him as a giant, others as a vast creature combining many terrifying forms. The details differ.
The emotional effect remains consistent. Typhon embodies chaos, uncontrolled power, the possibility that order itself might collapse. Ancient audiences often regarded him as the greatest enemy Zeus ever faced. Not because of personal rivalry, but because of what he represented. Cronus threatened Zeus's future. Typhon threatens the future of the entire cosmos. The distinction matters. When news of Typhon spreads, concern reaches Olympus. The atmosphere changes. The carefree confidence following victory over the Titans begins fading. Gods who once celebrated now watch the horizon carefully. The mountain feels quieter, more cautious. The situation reveals another stage in Zeus's development. Youth often believes one great victory solves everything. Experience teaches otherwise. Every solution creates new challenges. Every achievement creates new responsibilities. The cycle never truly ends. You accompany Zeus as he consults with his family. The halls of Olympus glow with torchlight. The scent of incense drifts through the air. Outside, thunder murmurs beyond distant clouds. The gathering feels serious. No one underestimates the danger. Poseidon arrives from the sea. Hades emerges from the underworld. Hera listens carefully. Athena offers thoughtful observations. The family that once struggled simply to survive now works together to protect creation itself. The transformation is remarkable. Years earlier, they were victims of Cronus's fear. Now they stand as guardians of order. Yet guardianship comes at a price. Responsibility rarely feels comfortable. One ancient tradition preserves a fascinating detail. According to some versions of the myth, the gods initially experience fear when confronting Typhon. Certain stories even suggest temporary retreat. Historians continue debating the origins of these accounts. Yet the symbolism remains powerful. Fear is not weakness. Fear is information. The question is how one responds to it. This theme appears repeatedly throughout Zeus's life. Courage does not eliminate fear. It acts despite fear. The lesson first appeared during the struggle against Cronus. Now it returns on a larger scale. As preparations begin, strange omens continue appearing. One afternoon, clouds gather over Olympus in unusual formations. They twist and spiral above the mountain. The shapes resemble enormous wings, or perhaps coiling serpents. Observers disagree. Ancient storytellers loved such ambiguity. The uncertainty itself creates tension. Were the clouds merely weather, or messages from powers beyond ordinary understanding? No one can say with certainty. Yet everyone remembers them. The confrontation eventually arrives. Ancient descriptions become almost dreamlike in scale. Mountains shake. Storms rage, the heavens darken. The imagery feels larger than ordinary storytelling. And perhaps it must. Typhon is not merely a creature. He is an idea, the embodiment of chaos challenging order. The battle therefore operates on symbolic levels as well as physical ones. You stand upon a distant ridge, watching storms consume the horizon. Lightning flashes continuously. Thunder rolls across the world. The air vibrates with energy. Even from afar, the conflict feels overwhelming. For Zeus, the challenge proves deeply personal. The years have changed him. He is no longer the hidden child, no longer the young rebel, no longer merely the conqueror of titans. He has become the protector of a fragile balance. The stakes are different now. When he fought Cronus, he sought freedom. Now he fights to preserve what has been built. Ancient audiences would have recognized the maturity reflected in that shift. The responsibilities of adulthood differ from the ambitions of youth. The conflict lasts through storm and darkness. Ancient traditions disagree on specific details. Some emphasize strategy, others emphasize endurance. Several preserve symbolic episodes difficult to interpret literally. Yet all versions move toward the same conclusion. Order survives. Chaos does not prevail. Typhon falls. The threat recedes, and the cosmos endures. When the storms finally pass, the world feels transformed. The air becomes clear. Sunlight returns. Rivers resume their normal courses. Birds return to abandoned nesting grounds. The signs of disruption gradually fade. The symbolism could not be clearer. Balance has been restored. Yet Zeus himself has changed once again. Victory no longer feels like triumph alone. It feels like responsibility fulfilled. The emotional difference is subtle, but profound. That evening, he stands alone near the highest peak of Olympus. The sky glows with the colors of sunset. Gold, orange, crimson. The world stretches endlessly below. For a long time, he remains silent, reflecting, remembering, learning. The pattern becomes increasingly clear. Every challenge teaches something. Every victory carries a lesson. Every threat reveals another aspect of leadership. A ruler is not defined solely by strength. A ruler is defined by what he protects. As darkness settles across the mountain, an eagle circles overhead. The bird moves gracefully through the twilight. Then it disappears into the gathering night. Zeus watches until it vanishes. The sight feels strangely peaceful, because for the first time in many years, no immediate danger waits on the horizon. The world breathes again. Olympus stands secure. Humanity continues growing. The gods continue their lives. And Zeus begins entering a new stage of existence. Not one defined by constant battles, but by reflection, wisdom, and the slow lessons that only time can teach. Years pass like clouds drifting across a summer sky. You notice the change not through dramatic events, but through quieter signs. The trees upon Olympus grow taller. New temples appear across the mortal world. Children become adults. Adults become ancestors. Generations come and go beneath the watchful heavens. And through it all, Zeus remains. The king of Olympus, the ruler of the sky, the guardian of an order he once fought to create. Yet time changes even gods. Not physically, perhaps, but inwardly. The Zeus who sits upon the throne now is not the same figure who emerged from the cave in Crete. Experience has reshaped him. Responsibility has refined him. The years have become teachers, and their lessons are often more powerful than victory itself. One quiet morning, you walk beside Zeus through a grove of ancient oaks near Olympus. The air feels cool and fresh. Sunlight filters through branches overhead. Birdsong echoes softly among the leaves. The atmosphere invites reflection. Zeus pauses beside one particularly old tree. Its trunk is broad. Its roots disappear deep into the earth. Its branches stretch toward the sky. For a long moment he studies it. Then he smiles faintly. The image reminds him of something. The dream from long ago. The tree that fell. The sapling that rose from its roots. At the time, the dream represented change. Now it represents continuity. The perspective has shifted. That shift reveals wisdom. Young leaders often focus upon transformation. Older leaders increasingly focus upon preservation. Both concerns matter. Both serve important purposes. The challenge lies in balancing them. Ancient myths rarely describe Zeus becoming wiser through formal instruction. Instead, wisdom emerges through consequences. The choices he makes, the mistakes he makes, the relationships he maintains, the burdens he carries. This approach feels deeply human. Many of life's most important lessons arrive through experience rather than explanation. One evening, Athena joins him upon a terrace overlooking the world below. The sky glows with the colors of sunset. Clouds drift lazily across the horizon. The sea reflects golden light far in the distance. Father and daughter watch in silence for a while. The silence feels comfortable. And Athena has grown into one of the most respected figures on Olympus. Wise, strategic, thoughtful. The relationship between them has matured as well. When she was younger, Zeus often guided her. Now the guidance moves in both directions. Ancient audiences appreciated this dynamic. Wisdom is not a possession. It is a conversation. Even rulers benefit from listening. Their discussion turns toward justice, a subject increasingly important to Zeus. Power can enforce order, but justice requires understanding. The distinction becomes clearer with age. Cronus enforced control. Zeus seeks balance. The difference may seem subtle, yet it changes everything. Balance allows room for growth. Control fears growth. One creates stability. The other creates resentment. The lessons of the past remain visible. Years have not erased them. Another important relationship continues evolving. Hera remains beside him. Their marriage has experienced joys and difficulties, harmony and conflict, understanding and frustration. The myths never hide these realities. Instead, they acknowledge them openly, which may explain why the relationship feels so enduring. It reflects life rather than perfection. One afternoon, Zeus and Hera walk together through gardens near Olympus. The scent of flowers drifts through the warm air. Peacocks move gracefully among shaded paths. The atmosphere feels peaceful. For a time, neither speaks. Then Hera points toward the mortal world below. Families, communities, marriages, lives unfolding beneath the heavens. The observation seems simple, yet it carries meaning. Rulership is not merely about cosmic events. It is about ordinary lives as well. The reminder matters. The greatest responsibilities often involve the smallest details. Ancient Greek religion frequently emphasized this connection. The gods shaped epic stories, but they also touched everyday experiences, harvests, journeys, births, marriages, storms. The ordinary and extraordinary existed side by side. Zeus increasingly understands that truth. As the years continue, he becomes known less for conquest and more for judgment. Mortals pray for fairness. Travelers seek protection. Communities invoke his guidance. The image of Zeus evolves, not merely a warrior king, a guardian of order, a symbol of stability. This transformation fascinates historians. Many surviving traditions suggest that ancient worshippers often focused more upon Zeus the protector than Zeus the conqueror. The evolution mirrors his personal journey. Strength opened the path. Wisdom sustains it. One night, another dream arrives. The dream feels unusually calm. No storms. No battles. No warnings. Zeus stands beside a quiet lake. The surface reflects the stars perfectly. At first, he sees only the sky. Then, the reflection changes. Faces appear. Rhea. The Nymphs of Crete, his siblings, Athena, Hera, countless others. Each face contributed something to his life. Each relationship shaped his journey. When he awakens, the meaning feels obvious. No one becomes themselves alone. Even kings, even gods. The realization brings a sense of gratitude, a quality not always associated with power, yet increasingly present within him. The Greeks often viewed gratitude as a sign of wisdom, the recognition that strength grows through connection, not isolation. Meanwhile, stories about Zeus continue spreading across the world. Poets sing of his victories. Priests preserve sacred traditions. Travelers share tales beside evening fires. Yet the stories vary. Different regions emphasize different qualities. Some celebrate his authority, others his justice. Others, his relationship with heroes. The diversity fascinates modern scholars. There was never only one Zeus. There were many interpretations, many perspectives, many layers. The king of Olympus existed not only in myth, but also in imagination. This multiplicity becomes part of his legacy. One autumn afternoon, a storm forms over distant mountains. Zeus watches from Olympus. Thunder rolls across the horizon. Lightning illuminates dark clouds. The scene reminds him of younger years. The Titan War, the battle against Typhon, the excitement of struggle. Yet his emotional response has changed. Once, storms represented challenges to overcome. Now they represent responsibilities to manage. The difference reveals how much he has matured. Youth often seeks adventure. Wisdom seeks balance. As evening approaches, rain begins falling gently across the landscape. The scent of wet earth rises from valleys below. The world feels quiet, reflective, peaceful. Zeus stands beneath a covered colonnade and listens to the rainfall. For a moment, he remembers the cave in Crete, the place where everything began. The sound of water striking stone, the feeling of safety, the uncertainty of youth. The memory brings a faint smile. The journey has been long, filled with challenges, filled with mistakes, filled with growth. And perhaps that is the true meaning of wisdom. Not perfection, not certainty, but the willingness to continue learning, even after victory, even after power, even after becoming king. As night settles over Olympus, stars emerge between drifting clouds. The world below grows quiet. The years continue moving forward, and somewhere among mortals, new heroes are already being born. Their stories will soon intertwine with his, because the legacy of Zeus no longer belongs only to him. It belongs to the generations he will inspire. The age of heroes is approaching, and with it will come new lessons about destiny, courage, and the enduring influence of a king whose journey is far from over. The night sky above Greece seems larger than ever. You stand upon Olympus as countless stars shimmer across the heavens. The air feels cool. A gentle wind moves through marble columns and sacred groves. Far below, villages glow faintly beside rivers, coastlines, and mountain valleys. The world appears peaceful. Yet beneath that peaceful surface, new stories are beginning. Children are being born. Kingdoms are rising. Destinies are awakening. The great wars of gods and titans now belong to the past. A different age approaches, the age of heroes. And although Zeus remains king of Olympus, his role within the story is changing. Once he stood at the center of every struggle. Now others begin stepping forward. The transformation feels natural. Every generation eventually passes responsibility onward, even among immortals. The heroes who emerge across the Greek world do not replace Zeus. Rather, they reveal new dimensions of his legacy. Through them, his influence spreads far beyond Olympus. One evening, Athena joins Zeus upon a high terrace. The sky glows softly with moonlight. Clouds drift beneath the mountain peaks. For a long time, they watch the mortal world in silence. Then Athena gestures toward a distant kingdom. A child has been born there. An ordinary event, yet ancient myths often begin this way. The future arrives quietly. No thunder announces it. No prophecy fully explains it. Only time reveals significance. Zeus watches thoughtfully. He has learned patience. Years ago, he might have focused upon immediate challenges. Now he understands that some stories require decades to unfold. The age of heroes becomes a lesson in patience and in influence. One of the earliest great figures associated with Zeus is Perseus. Ancient storytellers preserved many versions of his adventures. Yet what matters here is not every detail. What matters is what the relationship reveals. Zeus no longer acts directly in every situation. Instead, he becomes part of a larger chain of destiny. His influence shapes events. His guidance opens possibilities. But the hero must still choose, must still struggle, must still earn victory. This distinction fascinated Greek audiences. The gods may provide opportunities. They do not remove responsibility. As the years pass, more heroes appear. The mortal world seems almost alive with possibility. Kingdoms rise beside fertile rivers. Ships cross shining seas. Temples fill with prayers. And among countless ordinary lives, extraordinary individuals begin emerging. You watch Zeus observe these developments. His role increasingly resembles that of a gardener, not controlling every branch, not forcing every flower to bloom, simply creating conditions where growth becomes possible. The metaphor feels appropriate. After all, wisdom often replaces direct action as leaders mature. One night, a dream visits Zeus. The dream unfolds within a vast olive grove. Hundreds of young trees grow in every direction. Some flourish immediately. Others struggle against harsh winds. A few grow twisted. A few grow tall and strong. Yet all share the same sunlight, the same soil, the same opportunity. When Zeus awakens, the symbolism feels clear. Legacy is not control. Legacy is influence. The distinction becomes increasingly important. The greatest example arrives through Heracles. No hero becomes more closely associated with Zeus, and few reveal more about his character. The stories of Heracles contain strength, adventure, suffering, triumph, failure, everything that makes mythology compelling. Yet beneath the famous labors lies a deeper emotional thread, potential seeking fulfillment. Ancient Greeks admired Heracles because he embodied perseverance, not perfection. The same quality helped Zeus survive childhood challenge Cronus and rule Olympus. The connection feels meaningful, almost symbolic. Father and son sharing certain traits while expressing them differently. You watch Zeus follow the hero's journey from afar, not interfering constantly, not solving every problem, simply observing, sometimes offering guidance, sometimes allowing struggle to teach its own lessons. The approach reflects maturity. Earlier in life, Zeus often confronted challenges directly. Now he increasingly understands the value of experience. Some lessons cannot be given, they must be lived. Meanwhile, another relationship reveals a different side of his influence. Athena develops a close connection with Odysseus. Through Athena's guidance, Zeus witnesses another form of heroism. Not strength, not conquest, wisdom, patience, adaptability. The contrast enriches the mythology. Heroes need not all resemble one another. The same truth applies to leadership. The same truth applies to life. Ancient audiences appreciated these variations. Different virtues serve different circumstances. One afternoon, as clouds drift across Olympus, Zeus reflects upon this idea. The world below appears endlessly diverse. Farmers, sailors, poets, warriors, kings, children. No single path suits everyone. Perhaps the same is true for heroes, and perhaps the same is true for gods. The realization deepens his understanding. Wisdom rarely narrows perspective. It expands it. Yet the age of heroes also brings sorrow. Not every story ends happily. Not every prophecy leads to triumph. Mortality remains part of the human experience. No amount of divine influence can completely remove it. The lesson becomes increasingly important. You stand beside Zeus during one quiet evening after the death of a celebrated hero. The details matter less than the atmosphere. The sky glows with twilight. The sea reflects fading sunlight. A cool breeze carries the scent of distant rain. For a long time, Zeus remains silent. Reflective. The moment reveals something often overlooked. Even immortals witness loss. The emotional experience differs from that of mortals, yet it remains real. Watching generations rise and fall leaves its mark. Ancient myths occasionally hint at this melancholy. The burden of longevity, the weight of memory, the awareness that every mortal life, no matter how remarkable, remains temporary. Perhaps this understanding contributes to Zeus's growing wisdom. Mortality clarifies importance. Limited time gives meaning to choices. The heroes remind him of that truth. As decades pass, stories about Zeus increasingly merge with stories about those he influenced. The distinction becomes difficult to separate. A hero embarks upon a quest. A prayer rises toward Olympus. A dream offers guidance. A storm changes direction. Connections appear everywhere. The king's legacy spreads through countless lives, often indirectly, often invisibly, yet undeniably. One evening, another omen appears. A meteor crosses the night sky. Bright, brief, magnificent, the light vanishes within seconds. Yet everyone who witnesses it remembers. Ancient interpreters often compared heroes to such phenomena. Brilliant, inspiring, temporary. The image lingers in Zeus's thoughts, perhaps because it captures something essential. Greatness does not require permanence. Its value lies in its impact. As darkness deepens across Olympus, sacred fires illuminate the halls of the gods. The scent of incense drifts through the cool air. Music echoes softly in distant chambers. The world feels calm, balanced, alive. Zeus stands at the edge of a balcony, overlooking the sleeping earth. The heroes continue their journeys below. New generations prepare to follow. And for the first time, he begins recognizing a profound truth. His greatest achievement may not be the defeat of Cronus, or victory over Typhon, or even the throne of Olympus. It may be the countless lives shaped by the world he helped create. Yet another form of legacy still awaits him. Beyond heroes, Beyond adventures, beyond stories.
The king of Olympus is becoming something more than a ruler.
He is becoming a symbol.
And symbols often outlive even the civilizations that create them. The years continue flowing like a quiet river.
Generations rise and pass away. Heroes become legends. Legends become stories told beside evening fires.
And still Olympus watches from above.
You stand upon a mountain path at dawn.
The first sunlight touches distant hills. Mist lingers over valleys.
The scent of olive trees drifts through the cool morning air.
Below, a city slowly awakens. Merchants prepare their stalls. Fishermen move toward the harbor.
Priests open the doors of sacred buildings.
Life begins another day. And woven into that life is the presence of Zeus. Not merely as a king upon Olympus, not merely as a figure within myths, but as a living part of daily existence. This marks another transformation in his story. The child hidden from fate became a warrior. The warrior became a ruler. The ruler became a father. Now the ruler becomes something larger, a symbol shared by entire civilizations. To understand this stage of his life, you must leave Olympus occasionally. You must walk among mortals. You must stand where they stood. Breathe the air they breathed. Listen to the prayers they whispered. The Greek world stretches before you. Islands scattered across brilliant seas. Mountain villages tucked among rocky slopes. Busy ports filled with travelers and merchants. Sacred groves shaded by ancient trees. Every region possesses its own traditions, its own stories, its own understanding of the divine. Yet throughout these varied landscapes, the name of Zeus appears again and again. One afternoon, you arrive at a temple dedicated to him. The building stands upon a gentle rise overlooking fertile land. Columns gleam beneath the sunlight. The scent of incense drifts through the air. Birds circle overhead. The atmosphere feels peaceful. Ancient Greek temples were not merely places of worship. They were places of connection, meeting points between mortal and divine worlds. People arrived carrying hopes, questions, gratitude, fear, the full range of human experience. And often those experiences became linked to Zeus. A farmer prays for rain. A traveler seeks protection. A judge asks for wisdom. A family offers thanks after surviving hardship. These moments reveal something important. Many worshippers never thought about the Titanomachy. Many never reflected deeply upon Typhon. For them, Zeus mattered because he touched everyday life. The distinction fascinates historians. Mythology and religion overlap, yet they are not identical. The stories explain who Zeus is. The temples reveal why he matters. You watch a ceremony unfold. The participants move slowly and respectfully. Sacred fires burn within bronze vessels. The scent of olive oil and incense fills the air. Prayers rise toward the sky. The atmosphere feels calm rather than dramatic. The Greeks often viewed religion as part of ordinary existence, not separate from life, integrated into it. This perspective helps explain Zeus's enduring importance. He becomes woven into the rhythm of daily experience. One evening, as twilight settles across a coastal city, a priest points toward the sky. Dark clouds gather over the sea. Thunder rumbles faintly. Children pause to watch. Adults exchange knowing glances. A storm approaches. For modern observers, storms are weather. For ancient Greeks, storms carried additional meaning. They reminded people of Zeus, his authority, his presence, his connection to the heavens. The symbolism endured because it felt visible. Every flash of lightning became part of the story. The king of the sky remained present through the sky itself. Yet Zeus's image evolves differently in different places. Some communities emphasize justice, others emphasize kingship, others focus upon protection. The diversity becomes remarkable. Ancient Greece was never a single unified culture. It consisted of many regions with distinct traditions. Each added its own layer to the understanding of Zeus. As centuries passed, these layers accumulated, creating a figure far more complex than any single myth could capture. One night, Zeus experiences another dream. The dream unfolds within a vast temple, unlike any he has seen before. The structure seems endless.
Columns stretch toward unseen heights.
Torches illuminate countless halls. At first, the building appears empty. Then people begin entering,
Thousands of them.
from different cities, different generations.
Different eras.
Each carries a different image of Zeus.
Some imagine a warrior. Some imagine a father.
Some imagine a judge. Some imagine a protector. Yet all use the same name. When Zeus awakens, the dream leaves a curious impression. The realization feels profound. A symbol belongs partly to those who believe in it. The world sees many versions of him. Perhaps all contain some truth. The thought encourages reflection. Ancient mythology often explores identity through perspective. No one fully controls how others remember them, not even gods. Meanwhile, the mortal world continues changing. Cities grow larger. Trade expands. New ideas spread across the Mediterranean. Yet devotion to Zeus remains remarkably resilient. Sacred festivals attract enormous crowds. Athletic competitions honor him. Pilgrims travel long distances to visit important sanctuaries. Among the most famous is the Great Sanctuary at Olympia. You arrive there on a bright summer morning. The atmosphere feels vibrant. Excitement fills the air. Athletes gather from many regions. Spectators fill the surrounding spaces. Priests prepare ceremonies. The scent of dust, olive oil, and burning offerings mingles beneath the warm sunlight. Ancient traditions connect Zeus closely with these gatherings. The competitions celebrate strength, discipline, excellence, qualities admired throughout Greek culture. Yet beneath the contests lies another message: unity. People from different cities meet under a shared sacred tradition. The symbolism feels important. Zeus becomes a point of connection, a figure capable of bridging differences. Not perfectly, but meaningfully. Archaeological discoveries help illuminate this aspect of his legacy. Surviving temples, statues, offerings, inscriptions. Each reveals how deeply his presence became woven into the ancient world. Some researchers believe the scale of devotion surprised even later generations. Another interpretation survives, suggesting that Zeus's popularity reflected his flexibility. Different communities could emphasize different qualities while still honoring the same god. Perhaps both explanations contain truth. History rarely offers simple answers. The mystery remains part of the fascination. As the centuries unfold, countless artists attempt to depict Zeus. Some emphasize power, others wisdom, others majesty. The variety mirrors the diversity of belief itself. Every image captures something, yet none capture everything. The same could be said of the myths, or of memory. One autumn evening, Zeus stands upon Olympus, watching distant temple fires flicker across the earth. The sight resembles a constellation, small lights scattered throughout darkness. Each light represents faith, hope, tradition, connection. The image reminds him of an earlier dream. The countless faces reflected upon a river. The realization returns once again. Legacy is not a single story. It is a tapestry woven from many lives, many perspectives, many generations. The king of Olympus has become more than an individual. He has become part of culture itself. Yet another transformation still lies ahead. People pray to Zeus. People worship Zeus. People tell stories about Zeus. But what does Zeus ultimately symbolize? The answer continues evolving. And in the years to come, the symbol may prove even more enduring than the god himself. The world grows quieter as night settles over Olympus. Clouds drift slowly across distant horizons. Stars appear one by one, like ancient memories returning to the sky. The wind carries the scent of pine, salt, and rain from far below. You stand beside Zeus upon a high terrace. He is no longer the young king who once faced the Titans. No longer the warrior shaped only by conflict. Time has changed him again, subtly, quietly, completely. And now something else begins to change around him. Not his power, not his authority, but the way he is understood. Across the Greek world, Zeus is no longer a single image. He becomes many images at once, many interpretations, many meanings. The thunder above is the same,
but the stories beneath it multiply. You travel with him in observation, not interference. Across mountains and islands,
Across temples and coastal cities,
across valleys where ancient groves still stand untouched. Everywhere people speak his name differently.
in one place, Zeus is justice,
A god who ensures fairness among mortals. In another, he is protection, shielding travelers from storms and danger. Elsewhere, he is kingship itself, authority made divine.
and in yet other places, he is simply the sky, the living presence above all things.
The Greeks never forced a single interpretation, instead meaning expanded like branches of an ancient tree. Each region, each city-state, each tradition added its own understanding. The result is not confusion, but richness. A god shaped by human experience. One evening, Zeus watches a storm form over the sea. Lightning flickers within distant clouds. Thunder rolls across the horizon. The sound is deep, familiar, yet somehow different. He is no longer simply the one who wields thunder. He is also the one through whom thunder is understood. That distinction carries weight. Ancient mythology often blurs the line between force and symbol, between nature and meaning, between phenomenon and identity. You feel this tension in every storm, in every prayer offered beneath the sky, in every temple where fire burns in his name. Some traditions preserve older interpretations of Zeus as a sky spirit. Others emphasize his role as ruler of gods. Still others focus on justice and moral order. Historians continue debating how these layers formed, whether they developed gradually or merged from older beliefs, or reflected different cultural needs across time. The uncertainty itself becomes part of the story because Zeus is not static. He evolves as human understanding evolves. One afternoon, you accompany Zeus to a coastal shrine. The sea stretches endlessly into the horizon. Waves break softly against stone. Salt-laden air moves through columns of weathered marble. Fishermen bring offerings for safe passage. Travelers pause before long journeys. Children leave small tokens near sacred altars. The atmosphere is simple, quiet, human. Here, Zeus is not distant. He is present in daily survival, in weather, in luck, in the fragile balance between safety and uncertainty. A priest speaks softly of storms that spared ships, of winds that changed direction at the last moment, of lightning that struck far from villages instead of within them. Whether coincidence or divine intervention, the interpretation remains meaningful. Humans seek patterns, meaning, connection. Zeus becomes a bridge for those needs. Later, high in the mountains, you find a different shrine. Here, the atmosphere is austere, stone carved directly from cliffside rock. No grand architecture, only simplicity. Here, Zeus is not protector of sailors or king of cities. He is the mountain sky, cold, pure, unchanging. Wind moves through narrow passes. Eagles circle overhead. The world feels stripped down to essentials. Different people, different needs, different Zeus. The multiplicity is not contradiction. It is adaptation. Ancient religion rarely separated symbolic meaning from lived experience. A storm was weather, but also warning, a blessing, a reminder, a presence. You begin to understand why Zeus endured so long in human imagination. He is not confined to one interpretation. He expands to meet different realities. Yet this flexibility also raises deeper questions. Does a god become stronger when understood in many ways? Or does he risk becoming too diffuse to define? Zeus himself reflects on this quietly. You see it in moments of stillness, when he watches mortals below, when he listens to prayers carried by wind, when he stands between thunder and silence. One night, a dream comes again, but this time it is fragmented, not whole. Not clear. He stands within a hall filled with mirrors. Each mirror reflects a different version of himself. In one, he is a warrior holding lightning. In another, a wise judge seated upon a throne. In another, a distant sky without form. In another, a father surrounded by children. In another, only storm. The reflections shift endlessly. None remain fixed. When he reaches out, the mirrors ripple. The images blur. He awakens unsettled. Not fearful, but contemplative. The dream reveals something ancient worshippers already understood. A god is not only what he is also what is believed, what is remembered, what is spoken, what is feared, what is hoped for. Across generations, Zeus becomes a collection of meanings layered over one another. Some contradict, some complement, all endure. One scholar's interpretation survives, suggesting that this multiplicity reflects the nature of ancient Greek religion itself. Not centralized, but fluid, evolving through oral tradition, local practice, and shared imagination. Another interpretation argues that Zeus's many faces reflect humanity's attempt to understand complexity in the natural world. Storms are destructive and life-giving. Authority can protect and oppress. Power can create and destroy. Zeus becomes the embodiment of that duality. You return with him to Olympus as night deepens. The mountain is quiet. The halls are still. Only distant thunder moves across the sky. He stands at the edge of the world, looking outward, not as conqueror, not as warrior, but as presence, above mortals, yet inseparable from them. In that moment, Zeus is neither one thing nor many things. He is both, and neither fully. The final truth of his identity remains just beyond definition. And perhaps that is why he endures. Because meaning that cannot be fully captured continues to invite reflection, continues to inspire stories, continues to live. Far below, another storm begins forming over the sea. Lightning flickers once, then again. The sound of thunder rolls softly across the horizon. Not a warning, not a command, just the sky speaking in its oldest language. And Zeus listens. Time moves differently when you stand upon Olympus. Centuries that feel distant to mortals pass like slow breaths of wind. Yet even here, nothing remains untouched. The world below continues changing, and slowly, inevitably, so does the world above. You stand with Zeus on a quiet evening. The sky is clear, but unusually still. No storm gathers, no thunder speaks. Only a deep, reflective silence spreads across the heavens. It feels as though something ancient is beginning to shift. Not violently, not suddenly, but with the quiet certainty of all endings. Far below, the Greek world is no longer the same world that once prayed in fear of Cronus or trembled beneath the Titans. New ideas spread across cities. New philosophies emerge. New ways of understanding existence begin to take shape. The gods are still honored. Temples still stand. Sacred fires still burn. But something subtle has changed in the way mortals relate to the divine. Zeus notices it, not through one event, but through many small signs. Fewer direct appeals for intervention. More reflection. More interpretation. More distance. The relationship between gods and mortals is no longer immediate in the same way. Time itself seems to create separation. You walk beside Zeus through a quiet hall of Olympus. The marble is cool beneath your feet. Torchlight flickers gently along carved pillars. Ancient reliefs tell stories of battles, births, and divine encounters. Yet even these carvings feel like memories now. Not living immediacy, but preserved history. Zeus pauses before one of them, a depiction of his victory over Cronus. For a long time, he says nothing. There is no pride in his expression, only recognition. That moment feels far away, almost belonging to someone else. Ancient traditions often suggest that even gods experience the passage of time differently in later ages. Not through physical aging, but through distance, through memory, through change in perception. The world that once demanded constant divine intervention now appears more self-sustaining. Human civilizations grow more complex. Cities expand, trade networks stretch across seas, knowledge spreads between cultures. New interpretations of the world begin to emerge. Some question older myths, Some reinterpret them, some preserve them unchanged, but none experience them in the same immediate way as before. One afternoon, Zeus watches from Olympus as a great city below celebrates a festival. Music rises into the air. Crowds gather in open spaces.
Sacred rituals continue, but their meaning feels layered with new understanding.
What was once absolute now becomes symbolic.
What was once literal now becomes philosophical. You sense something profound in Zeus's silence.
Not sadness exactly, but awareness. That all systems of belief evolve, even those rooted in divine presence. The myths themselves begin transforming, no longer only stories of living gods walking among mortals. They become reflections, metaphors, cultural memory. Yet Zeus remains, not unchanged, but reinterpreted. Another dream visits him in this quiet period. He stands at the edge of a vast shoreline. The sea stretches endlessly into mist. Behind him, mountains fade into clouds. Before him, countless paths lead into the water. Some paths glow faintly, others disappear beneath waves. He does not move, he simply observes. A voice is not heard, yet understanding arrives. Everything that was once direct is becoming indirect. Everything that was once immediate is becoming remembered. When he awakens, he understands without explanation. The world is no longer centered around Olympus in the same way it once was. Not because Olympus has fallen, but because perception has expanded beyond it. You notice changes among the gods as well. Their presence in mortal life becomes more distant in certain traditions, less physical, more symbolic, more interpretive. Some gods become associated with ideas rather than events. Others become linked to moral concepts or natural forces. Zeus himself increasingly represents order, authority, and sky. Not always intervention, but principle. The distinction matters deeply in how later generations understand him. Ancient worship does not vanish, but it evolves. And evolution often brings reinterpretation rather than disappearance. Zeus experiences this transformation not as loss, but as shift, a change in relationship with the world he helped shape. One evening, Hera stands beside him as the sun sets. The sky glows in soft layers of gold and violet. They do not speak for a long time. The silence between them feels older than words. Finally, Hera says something simple. The world is becoming different. Zeus does not disagree. He already knows. From Olympus, the distance between divine and mortal worlds feels greater than before. Not physically, but meaningfully. The age of direct interaction is fading. The age of interpretation is rising. You look down at the mortal world once more. Temples still stand. Stories still circulate. But something is changing in how those stories are told. Philosophers question. Poets reinterpret. Thinkers search for underlying meaning rather than literal presence. Zeus becomes part of that search, not as a ruler commanding outcomes, but as a figure within thought, within culture, within memory. Some traditions suggest that in later interpretations of Greek belief, the gods increasingly represent forces within the human experience itself. Zeus as authority, Poseidon as chaos of nature, Hades as inevitability of death, Athena as wisdom, Apollo as clarity. Whether intentional or not, this transformation reflects how civilizations evolve their understanding of divinity. From external beings to internal meanings. From presence to principle. You sense Zeus reflecting on this quietly, not resisting it, not accepting it with celebration, but observing it as one observes weather moving across an ancient landscape. Change is neither good nor bad. It simply happens. Another dream follows. This time, he stands within a great amphitheater, but the audience is empty. Only echoes remain. Voices that once filled it are gone. Yet the structure remains intact, strong, enduring, waiting for new meaning to be assigned. When he awakens, he understands something fundamental. Structures remain, but meaning shifts. And Zeus himself is becoming part of that shift. The final years of this stage of his existence feel quieter, less dramatic, more reflective. The great battles are behind him. The establishment of order is complete. What remains
is endurance, memory, continuity,
and the slow transformation of myth into cultural identity. Far below, human civilizations continue evolving. New philosophies rise that interpret the divine in increasingly abstract ways. The gods remain present in stories, but their roles expand beyond literal narrative. Zeus becomes less a figure of direct action and more a symbol carried through time. The king of Olympus does not disappear, but he changes form, becoming part of language, part of thought, part of memory. And as night settles once more over the world, Zeus stands alone upon the highest terrace of Olympus. The sky above is vast and silent. Stars shine without interruption. No thunder follows. No storm arrives. Only stillness remains. He watches the world below one last time in this era and understands without sorrow or resistance that even divine stories have their seasons. And this one is entering its final movement. Night settles over Olympus like a soft closing of the eyes. The wind is gentle now, almost hesitant. Clouds drift slowly across the highest peaks, brushing against stone as if remembering something ancient. You stand beside Zeus in silence. There is no thunder tonight, no storm, no urgency in the sky, only a vast stillness stretching beyond time itself. Below the mortal world continues its endless rhythm. Cities glow faintly, rivers move through dark valleys, seas breathe against distant shores. Lives begin, lives end, and the cycle continues, as it always has. Zeus watches all of it, not as a conqueror, not as a warrior, not even as a distant judge, but as something quieter now, something almost beyond definition, a presence that has learned the full weight of what it once set in motion. The journey returns to him in fragments, not as a single story, but as a lifetime of moments. A hidden child beneath the earth, a cave where silence guarded destiny, a mother's grief carried through stolen years, a father swallowed by fear, a war that reshaped the heavens, a thunderbolt forged in darkness, a throne built not from victory alone, but from consequence. And then beyond all of that, the long centuries of rule, of watching, of guiding, of learning what power becomes when it no longer needs to fight. The air around Olympus feels different now, not weaker, not fading, but softened by distance, as though the world itself has stepped back to look at what it has become. Zeus breathes slowly. Even that feels symbolic now, as if each breath carries memory within it. Ancient traditions rarely describe endings as moments of disappearance. Instead, they describe them as transitions, shifts in meaning, changes in how something is understood. And so Zeus does not end. He transforms. You can feel it in the stillness, in the way the sky no longer demands attention, in the way thunder no longer announces presence, in the way silence itself feels complete. A final dream arrives, not dramatic, not filled with symbols of war or prophecy, only a wide, open sky, endless, calm, unbroken. Below it, countless paths stretch across the earth, some bright, some fading, some already lost to time. Zeus walks among them, but not as ruler, as observer, as memory, as something that once shaped the direction of all paths, but no longer needs to choose between them. When he wakes, there is no urgency, only understanding. Everything that was meant to happen has happened. Everything that was meant to be shaped has been shaped. The world no longer waits for commands. It moves under its own weight now, and that is as it should be. You stand beside him as dawn begins to rise, for what feels like the last time in a certain way. Light spreads gently across the horizon. Not sharp, not forceful, just patient illumination, returning to the world. Zeus looks toward it for a long time. There is no regret in his expression, no desire to change what has already unfolded, only recognition that even gods are part of time's greater movement, not outside it, not above it, within it. Ancient voices once called him King of Olympus, ruler of the sky, bearer of thunder, protector of order, and all of these were true, but none were complete, because meaning is never fixed.
It evolves with those who remember it. The mortal world will continue shaping his image long after this moment. In temples, in stories, in poetry, in thought, Zeus will become many things. More than he ever was, less than he once appeared. And still something essential will remain. The idea of order within chaos, of responsibility within power, of choice within destiny. That is what endures. Not the battles, not the storms, but the understanding they left behind. The wind moves gently across Olympus. It carries no warning now, only continuity. Zeus turns once more toward the vast world below, and for the final time in this journey, he simply watches. Not to intervene, not to decide, but to witness. Because witnessing is its own form of presence. And presence, in the end, is what remains when everything else has changed. Far below, a small storm begins to form over the sea. Lightning flickers faintly within distant clouds. Not a threat, not a sign, just weather continuing its ancient rhythm. Zeus does not call it. He does not shape it. He does not command it. He simply sees it. And in that seeing, something quietly completes itself. The story does not end with silence. It ends with continuation, with the understanding that nothing truly disappears. It only changes form. The sky above remains eternal, but the meaning beneath it is always evolving. And somewhere within that endless sky, Zeus remains. Not as a beginning, not as an ending, but as memory carried forward through time, a presence within the storm, and beyond it. And as the night finally settles once more over Olympus, there is only peace. Not the peace of absence, but the peace of understanding. And that is enough.